So if I could get everybody's attention.
Good morning, Sika.
Good morning.
It's
How are
great.
you? Before I turn the meeting over to the chair to welcome us, and then we'll get into introductions and those things, I want to let everyone know that we are recording audio only. We're not gonna do video, and we aren't gonna live stream, which we normally don't do for our workshops, but we do record, and then we will post it up on YouTube. So with that, I'm gonna turn it over to Chair Jones to welcome us. Give us a quick little thing that he does, and then he's gonna flip it back to me, and we're going to get started.
All right, well, thank you, everybody, that you are here. This gives us an opportunity in this retreat. There's been some great work done by that strategic planning committee in preparation for this, so I'm looking forward for how all of that will manifest itself in our discussions. This gives us a chance to, I might say modestly, take a victory lap and acknowledge what we have done and what has been the impact of our decisions and the intentionality of our spending. And at the same time, give us opportunity to also press reset as we look at our remaining pillars and our remaining strategies that we want to make certain that we ultimately implement and subsequently empower by our decisions and the timeline that we set forth coming out of this meeting. We're not voting on anything today. Really, the goal is to prepare materials for consideration at our next council meeting. So without further ado, so I won't, I can be hopefully laborious in my comments. So I'm just going to turn over the screen, make the introductions of our team as our new team members and our facilitator, who I know is a fantastic facilitator. So we've got really good hands this morning.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chair Jones. So for protocol purposes, I'm just going to ask Holly, note all of the council members that are here. We're not going to formally call the roll. Secondly, we have a new team member, and while I will introduce her again at our council meeting, I wanted to formally introduce and welcome to Kara Jackson to the CSC Leon team. She is our administrative services coordinator. She is ending her second week, and already, it was third week. Is it your third week? The end of your third?
It's counting. Yeah,
I am. But has already proven to be an awesome addition to our team. Before I introduce our facilitator for today, I would like to bring up Michelle Watson, who is the CEO of the Florida Alliance of Children's Councils and Trusts. We had a big week this week in the legislature, and so at the request of our chair, Michelle is here to give a quick overview of how HJR F1, which is the language or the ballot initiative that was passed by the legislature this week to try to reduce property tax in the state. So Michelle, I'll turn it over to you. We're going to take about 10 minutes, and then she'll be available to ask any questions. But I want to caution us not to go too deep in discussion because we, A, don't have all our council members here, and B, any discussion I think we really ought to have at the council meeting when it's live streaming and all of it. All right, so Michelle, I'll turn it over.
Perfect. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for having me. I have a lot of concealer under my eyes after this week. Not a drinker, but feel hungover from this legislative session. Would love to say that we have really good news. Unfortunately, we knew a property tax proposal was coming for over a year. I think our intel thought that the property tax proposal was going to be different than the governor's press conference. A lot of texts were flying during that press conference. We were surprised to hear what we thought was going to happen was a $250,000 exemption, which is what we got, but with a $50,000 additional homestead every year. What was filed was more of an immediate impact, which is within the first year, 150,000 total homestead exemptions. We already have 50,000. We realized another 100,000, and then within the second year, the 250,000 exemption, which would be an additional 200,000. The good news is we had a lot of thoughtful conversation on the House floor, on the Senate floor. We had amendments introduced to carve out children's services councils. We learned that by Tuesday morning at 11:30, that property tax package had been already negotiated. There was going to be no more amendments besides the school carve outs. And so while we had really good representation on the floor, and we had members willing to carve us out, those amendments were not taken up because they had already negotiated between the leadership of the House, the Senate, and the governor's office. One of the things that I will tell you now is we are really still unpacking a lot of that language. So we know that the direct target of this was really counties and municipalities, but special districts are in that ad valorem section. And so we have our retained counsel at FACT really looking at how you can interpret some of that language. So one of the things we're looking at is that there could be a total phase out. The legislature could decide to do a total elimination of property taxes. But what we don't know is, does it apply to special districts? The language is a little bit unclear if the complete phase out is tied to special districts or if it's just counties. There are things such as the new amendment regarding elected officials and what they vote on as their budget. Can that be just whatever is not prohibited by law? Meaning that as soon as you take your budget vote, it's whatever's not prohibited by law. So does that mean full use portfolios are not allowed to be funded in the county or city? We don't know yet. And so I think that what we've heard is, through public testimony, is that there was a lot of ambiguity on the how you understand potential pieces and portions of this bill. And so with that being said, I know a lot of people are still in the digestion phase. They're still trying to meet with their attorneys, still trying to figure out what this actually means for them. That Wednesday morning, I was immediately at the Association of Counties. I will tell you that according to the Association of Counties, they do fully expect there to be some sort of legal challenge to this sort of constitutional amendment language. We know it will have to go to the courts. The law says if the courts strike it down, the legislature can come back and write other language. So there's going to be something that comes out. We do fully expect there to be a large coalition of individual groups that are going to be educating on this issue around, the impact of what this means. So we know for CSC Leon, the impact is pretty profound. You take about 30% of your portfolio away, potentially. The compounding impact of that is twofold. So with reduced revenues for the county and the city, their youth portfolios are going to shrink. Those organizations that request money for youth services at the city and county are going to come here, right? It's the only other mechanism. So you guys, as you're doing strategic planning, are going to have to really think about what are some of those long-term decisions and what is some of that glide path that might be necessary as funding potentially winds down. The good news is that you all have been really fiscally responsible in the end time. You are not at the full half mil for what you all applied for your truth and knowledge process. With that being said, you guys have a little bit of room, right, to absorb some of those funding cuts in a way that some other CSCs that are already at the full half mil do not, right? You guys have the ability to do that. The other part of the bill, which is the HJR 2F, requires the voting for increases through your process now has to be at 2/3. Immediately upon the governor signing it, it now has to be at 2/3. That is not a phase in implementation. So 2/3 for total unanimity. So those are things that you all need to be thinking about as you're doing your budget and your strategic planning, is that there's a lot of unknowns. We also know that, we have to get to 60%. The state of Florida has to get to 60% of the voters voting yes on this. I will tell you that there's going to be a lot of fundraising on the no side. It's very unclear on what dollars are available on the yes side as it relates to information. We know that the governor already released the calculator, right? The tax calculator that people can go in and put their stuff on. We do know that there's other groups out there that is looking to do a service reduction calculator. So not just straight cash, but what services are potentially impacted with the reduced revenues. But what I am here to tell you is, while that passed, there is a long time to November. Our work has now just begun, right? Everybody is now moving into the mobilization mode. I have a feeling we will be part of a large coalition of entities that are impacted, the Special District Association, the realtors, the Florida Chamber is gonna have an opinion on this, the cities, the counties. They're looking to set a table to build a coalition in July, which we will be a part of. We're still very much the minnow, right? Chasing the salmon upstream as it relates to potential funding impacts, just because our half mil, right? Our half mil is not big. So what we are going to move into is a full education campaign, right? Making sure that communities understand the impact of these dollars on youth outcome. We do truly believe that if these prevention dollars are removed from the system, the taxpayers will not save money in the long run, that there's going to be more money spent in child welfare, more money spent in juvenile justice, more money spent in early learning and student outcomes, as well as education. So that is going to be part of our messaging. I think it's really, really important. You know, a lot of work, as you all do as funders, is passing it down to other entities to do the direct services. I think it's really, really important that the messaging of how these services come to bear is because of the children's services. So making sure that branding is dual, you know, as your service providers are putting out information, that funding has been provided by the Children's Services Council. So the community really, really understands where their taxpayer dollars are going. One of the things that we are also doing is trying to collect dollars that are unrestricted. So there is a group out of Washington, D.C. called the Children's Funding Project, who we have given a lot of time to, because Florida is actually the model for creating special taxing district and funds for children. So we have a relationship with them, but they are also a huge funder. So they're looking to give us some dollars for an education campaign that really talks about what do children's services councils do. The other part about the money that we provide throughout the state is, so not only, it's not going to be a dollar for dollar reduction, we provide match. So a lot of our children's services councils provide match dollars to other entities, whether it be the federal government, whether it be the state, or whether it be local initiatives. So there is a potential impact that when you pull these dollars back, or these dollars are reduced, the state is actually going to lose money. So I'll use childcare, for example. I know some of you are on the Early Learning Coalition. Childcare, for example, our CSCs fund about $60 million in early learning services throughout the state, which allows the state to use $27 million of that to draw down the full federal block grant. So if our money goes away, the legislature is going to have to find $27 million in general revenue to be able to draw down the entire block grant. So we're messaging really that it's not a dollar for dollar match. We're good stewards of taxpayer dollars. I think what we heard on the House and Senate floor during debate was children's services councils do the work right. We had also a lot of outpouring because of the public debate on the floor. We also received a lot of media requests. So the media has now come out and said, well, tell us the impact of children's services councils. We heard children's services councils significantly, both on the House and Senate floor. Senate champion was Senator Gail Harrell, very, very concerned, introduced an amendment and withdrew it because she knew the bill had already been negotiated. And then Robin Bartleman on the House side as well. We are still in constant contact with the governor's office as well, letting them know the potential impact of this constitutional amendment. They do know that they're going to need to come back with a full implementing bill. So we're going to continue to have conversations with them as we move forward. But I will tell you, you know, the journey has just started. Summer just got a whole lot more interesting as far as the amount of work that is going to need to be completed. As we continue to learn more, as we understand the court challenges, as we understand a little bit more of the language, but we'll continue to keep you all posted on the work of FACT, and then on the work that you all do locally. Like I said, it's all about exposure, understanding how you all impact children is huge. I will tell you, in polling, we do really, really well. Children's Services Councils, once you know what we do really, really well, over 70%. So I have a feeling that some of the debate on the floors was because they knew this, that children, that you were cutting children's issues, they used it as a lot. There was a lot of members that talked about their impacts to their Children's Services Council. So we're going to continue to use that momentum. We're going to continue to stay aligned with some of our partners who are going to be conducting feasibility polls, really strong ones where they'll be able to get the crosstabs, right? Who is reacting to what? Is it the renters? Is it, you know, our senior citizens? What are the demographics? And we'll be able to use some of that information in our targeted messaging. That is what we know as of, Tuesday afternoon to now. Things are still becoming clear, but the good news is I'm here in Tallahassee. So getting to you all is very easy compared to our other members. And I'm here anytime that you need me.
Thank you so very much. Council members, any questions, comments? Well, I want to thank you for coming to share with us. This means a lot. I was excited to hear you talk about coalition because, for example, although the school districts may appear seem unimpacted, but that the opportunity for coalition with the FSBA, the district superintendents is worthwhile, and as well as literally the city's FACT as well, because they can also help with our messaging about what we know as our impacts. I know our school district, our FSBA, can certainly talk about what we know as a collaborative relationship, how we both use the leveraging of the monies that are made available by Children's Service Council and school districts to be able to optimize children's services. So those coalitions are I hope will be worthwhile, and they will help to take your message forward.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a diverse group of stakeholders that are really going to be able to mobilize. And one of the things that we were talking about is making sure that messaging did not get, that messaging was actually very on brand, right? That we were not creating conflicting messaging across the state that made people confused and then they didn't actually really know if they were voting yes or no, because there was one message from the Children's Services Council, one message from the county, one message from the FSBA, right? Those types of things. So that was really part of the coalition building is what does it look like? I will tell you the counties think this amendment, in order to work it, I'm not going to say defeat it, but in order to work it, they're probably going to need about a $20 million investment. And so that's really what they're looking for as far as types of fundraising. Like I said, we will just be at the table to make sure that we are part of the synergy in messaging and making sure we're not getting in the way and staying apprised of everything. But we'll see what's happening. I think that there's some polling that says yes, and I think that there's some polling that says no, and I think that we're going to get to clarity in the next few months about what that looks like.
Thank you so much for starting your day with us.
Of course.
Appreciate
Thank
your
you.
coming, all right?
Of course.
Thank you, all right? Have a great Saturday.
Thank you.
Thanks. David.
All right, I'm happy to turn it back over to Secret Green, Mrs. Green.
Thank you so much, and thanks again, Michelle. Before
I'm
I,
sorry.
Could I ask just one question before you roll out? I just want to make sure that I have in my mind the timeline for all of this. So it would be a November constitutional amendment the voters have to do 60% or 2/3.
6%.
Right. And so if you roll forward from that, there's nothing to implement without an implementing bill. So does that require then either a special session,
No, that's
the next section to create an implementing bill for that?
We've heard the governor wants part of that implementing bill, but if it does pass, because he's in office
Well,
in
he's-
January.
He would.
Call a special.
Well,
call
and
it
the
special.
special session.
So
Well,
after,
so November.
yeah.
That's what be interesting.
So after organizational
Because that-
session in November.
That was the point I had, because it looked to me like the implementing bill would be under a new governor.
He is not, well, he is not looking to do it under a new governor.
I understand that now. And then the last point was just in the,
Look, that would be the one.
No.
in the estimates of
You
the
got, you.
impact on the various CSCs, you were using 2025 tax base.
Yeah.
And as you roll forward a couple of years, I was just making a note, and I talked to Sika about it, that, time's a little bit on our friend from the respect that the tax base increases year over year. So a paying millage on a larger tax base reduces that impact, assuming that we're having an increase in the underlying tax base that we apply the millage rate.
And as long as you now have 2/3 of the board voting yes, not for the rollback. So that is part of the new legislation. 2/3 of the vote have to be staying at the same millage to recoup those new funds as part of an increased tax base, versus, which was.
Remember, we were the council that rolled back the millage rate and still raised $600,000 more. It also reminded that of this council, 5 or 10 of us are appointed by the government.
So yes, so there's quite a few things. We are hoping, so one of the things that we did, Sika has all of the estimates. We've run micro simulations at the parcel level. So all of the data that we did in our micro simulations were at the parcel depth level. We contracted with Bob McKee, Florida Economic Solutions, who was the chief economist of Department of Revenue for 30 years. He's able to do some assumptions around growth, but he's also looking, because now 2026 has been collected, he will revise the model with the 2026 parcel level data as soon as he's able to build that out. So we are working to make sure we do that. So what we're hearing is that after organizational session, the governor would call kind of, I don't want to say his last special session because we never know, we're on special session now, to do an implementing bill. That would be something that him and his administration would really like to do before it turns over to the governor in January. So that is everything that we are hearing today. Now, things change very quickly. But we're going to continue to provide information and educate on the impacts of the property tax amendment as well as the service impact. One of the things that we've already done is reached out to 3 communications agencies as part of the money we're going to bring in from that national group to figure out how we can do statewide messaging really thoughtfully, and then be able to locally curtail it to what your priorities are that you all will be discussing today as part of your.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you again so much.
You're welcome.
All right, Mrs. Green.
All right, awesome. So before I bring up our facilitator, just want to remind the council how we got here. So we had our needs assessment, we did a strategic framework, we boiled that down a little bit more. We provided that strategic framework document to you, and we had an ad hoc committee that came together to boil it down so that we could get at least one SMART goal for each of the funding areas that we have. By way of reminder, looking at the theory of change, we have 3 priority areas that are influenced by 8 impact areas, and you have it on your desk as well, measured by the key outcome measures. These are just a few, and we effectuate this through 3 funding categories: kindergarten readiness, youth success, and family well-being. The 4th category is capacity building. And if you remember when we did our first strategic planning, when we had a different facilitator, she emphasized that capacity building is definitely an area where we need to continue having some sort of goal as we work with our local nonprofits to ensure that they are able to provide services in the way that we expect, be accountable for those services, and move from just providing services to making sure that the participants are better on the other side of those services. So Becky Tolnay is going to be our facilitator today. Very well respected. I have to tell you, we originally reached out to Dan McGrew. Dan McGrew was not available, and Becky's name was the first name that came up. And so I was so very excited that she will be here with us today. Our team is just back here observing. So this is really an opportunity for you all to talk to each other and have the discussion over the goals that the ad hoc committee did. Becky, before I have you come up, we have a grazing station, and I'd like to thank Mr. Mitchell, Paul Mitchell, for providing our grazing station. So please graze. Please graze, because it makes me happy. Let me just say, I'm very happy to have the grazing station. But Paul, thank you so much for that. All right, Becky, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you today. So I'll skip all the background stuff. If you guys have questions about my background, I'm happy to share that, but I'd love to just go ahead and get straight into the work for you. So let me walk through a little bit high level what we're going to do today. The really big goal is to review and discuss the priority areas that you identified that Sika just mentioned. And we want to move into understanding where there's already alignment. I've done a lot of facilitation. I find a lot of times people are in violent agreement, if you will. There's lots of conversation about something that everybody already agrees on. So I'm going to do a little bit of check on where you are in agreement. And by the end of the workshop, we should be able to raise some questions, identify any place that needs clarification, surface any follow-up items that are needed to be addressed, with the goal ultimately to be to get these priority areas cleaned up and ready to take to a vote at your next council meeting. So hopefully that allows you to then move forward instead of continuing to discuss and talk about what's going on. So again, violent agreement, right? So you have a copy of the agenda in front of you. We're going to start with just an opening reflection, just to give us a chance to settle into the work. And then we're going to review the 4 priority areas one at a time. For each one, you'll have a chance to review the materials and then kind of assess where you are in terms of your support of it or your agreement regarding it. And then we'll see where we are as a group. I use we a lot. It's the royal we because I don't have to say. So I'm not saying I'm going to be waiting since you all doing that. After we finish the first pass in all of the areas, and I'll show you what that means in a few minutes, we'll take a break. It'll probably be around 10:30, 10:45. And then the rest of the time until 1 o'clock, we'll be workshopping a little bit of some of the opportunities that you identify as places where there might need some work for clarification. So hopefully when we leave, or I expect when we leave at 1, there'll be some action items for what needs to be cleaned up and adjusted and clarified so that you can bring something to the council at your next meeting. Does that sound good to everybody?
Yeah.
Any questions so far? Okay. So what we're gonna do, and one more thing, the reason for the level setting really at the beginning, just going through those 4 areas and figuring out where there's already high level agreement and where there's still questions or concerns, is so that for the last half, we know where we need to spend our time. So I'm gonna push a little bit through the first part when we're doing the consensus building, so that we have as much time as we need to be able to go through where there's where work needs to happen. So we're not necessarily going to spend the same amount of time on all 4 of the priority areas, but some of them you talked about already and maybe don't need to spend more time on. Sound good?
Yeah.
So to start with, we're just going to take about 15 minutes or so on some reflection. So I'm going to let you think about it on your own for a couple of minutes. And then I'm going to let you just pair with the person sitting next to you. So somebody will probably reach across the table there. And then we'll do a recap. So I have 2 questions that I want you to think of. You'll talk about them together. And when we go to the recap, I'm just going to ask you for, some words that kind of came up that seemed like things that we want to keep in mind as we look through the rest of the morning. So the first question, and they're both kind of fill in the blanks at the end. You all see that? Can you move it closer?
Closer is better.
Yeah, closer is better. I know I do the glasses thing, but I use it up close. So as I think about, this is for you, answer to end, close in. As I think about CSC Leon's theory of change, one connection I want to keep in mind today is, so what is the part about the connections in the theory of change that you want to just keep top of mind? So you can answer that one. And then the next one is, one piece of work we have done that we can build from today is fill in the blank, because why did you think you could build on that? Okay, so I'm just going to give you a few minutes to think about your answers.
Can I see the question about
Please.
question 1?
Please.
The term connection. Of what, I mean.
And I might defer, but I'm going to say that when I studied the theory of change, it's going to go from the bottom back up. We do this because we can do that. And so there's a connection between the action and the results.
Okay.
Or whatever it is, however you see, when you think about the theory of change, wherever you see the connections between these things and which one really stands out to you. Did I do a good job? Yes. Okay. Y'all are much more versed, believe it or not, y'all are much more versed in the theory of change than I am. So just go with your gut. There's no right answer here. It's just kind of trying to figure out, what are you thinking of when you think about these things? Right? So there's no wrong answer. I guess what you do for the real you and do that for this coming. Well, I'll let you do pairs. So you can just maybe we'll see. Sorry, Austin and Mark can get together and then the 2 of you and the 2 of you.
All right.
All right. When we recap, I'm going to ask you for just a couple of words, not whole long stories, but just words that have come to your mind.
Let me show you a picture.
So it up. Kindergarten. I'm not sure.
What is insurance that?
All of the things. So, school regulations.
There are very large, one test, but it's definition of guideline. I think we need to wait.
All right.
So. Which probably.
So, we're curious. This one. I go back to the just doing this just. That's why. All of that area of but what response how we do I've always it really is. That's the connection. Right. So when you start talking about all of this stuff, and this goes. It makes every year later.
I'm gonna give you one more minute. If you could start highlighting the individual words. Okay. So, and then when I call and you just share, you're just sharing like the one or two words that you came up with. With that age, it's really good.
That's the middle one.
Yes. Additional. I guess.
Okay.
I'm not sure the one.
We did lessons.
Right, has to be a way.
So what? It's,
You know, it's perfect to have it. I took it away, oh my gosh. Sorry. Can you still see it?
Well,
I'll bring it back.
it's blue and green. Maybe, yeah.
I'll bring it back.
We can put it right here.
Just bring it back. We don't need it for long. We don't need it for long. It's okay. Okay, are you ready? All right. So because we're gonna have lots of conversation, we don't need to have lots of conversation right now. I just want to capture some mindset, just kind of where are you when you're thinking? So at the bottom of this, and you can't read it anymore because I moved it. What are a few words or phrases from your conversation that we should carry into or review? So just top of mind, just a word that came up over and over again, or a short phrase. Excellent. Collaboration. What else did you hear?
Resources.
Early intervention.
Yeah.
Early intervention. Early.
Who ready to?
Yeah.
School. I asked for spelling amnesty when I'm writing on the flip chart. School readiness.
Well, this is not one word, but we
That's okay.
talked about exploring other resources.
Okay,
I get almost at one level,
so I'm gonna say exploring resources. Is that okay?
but now,
Exploring resources.
yes,
What else? Any?
Stable and supportive home environment.
Stable, oops, I want to leave out and supportive because that happens, right? Supportive. Home. Environment. Any other words that you just kind of kept talking about or hearing used over and over again?
Intentionality.
Intentionality. Right. Second.
With respect to the theory of change in particular, it specifically mentions catalyst for change. And catalyst for change doesn't necessarily mean that we're the bank for that change or the catalyst for it, but it implies that we're acknowledging that there are other investors in this space that may need to be held accountable.
Or I think I hear me lament over this, but it's just a reflection that we have very limited resources compared to the needs, and recognizing that, where do we get the best outcome for the limited resources? You can't do everything.
I'm gonna.
and we shouldn't, I think that's the biggest thing is like, we cannot parent people's kids. Okay, so I'm gonna be the one that's not politically correct here. You know, I'm sorry, but we have resources we can, but at the end of the day, these people are experts in their lives, and if they want the resource, they also have to do it, right? Like these parents also have to. Of a value.
I think that's
They
the
have
whole
to-
concept of family resources.
And
And that's kind of
yeah.
what Brent's point of catalyst for change. Is that
Right.
We're the catalyst who hopefully
Right.
kick the community's rear end into action.
And
You know,
Yeah.
They have to elect it, and we
Right.
have to elect who get it.
And from my background, you know, when we get kids, parents say, hey, they need to come in therapy. Okay, great, fix them. Well, it's you. I need to sit with you and we have to do, so like, I think that's the biggest thing is we can implement these things. And
Stable home environment. not
yeah,
stable-
but like they have to also be willing
Stable and
and then not like, oh, nothing changed. Yeah, but like, are you doing the stuff on your work? Being a parent is hard. It is not easy work. I mean, trust me, I mean, you can just give them a tablet and let them babysit, you know?
You had to circle one word on this page. Just pick one, each of you just pick one. You had to circle one word on this page.
Stable and supportive home.
Early.
early. All about early.
Anybody else? Anything different?
I don't know, I like collaboration.
Collaboration?
That's what she said.
Yeah. Anything else?
Having the resources.
I think it just being intentional with your child.
Okay.
I mean, I'm dealing with it now. People are blaming schools for absenteeism. How is that?
How is that?
That child leaves at home. Or does.
Or does it, right?
It's my fault that the kid doesn't come to school. How is that possible?
Ollie, I'm about to break up with me. We can take this off. and put it-
They forced it on.
I got you. Probably not. So, this is gonna sound funny, but I have kind of a rule when I'm facilitating, that when I'm moving flip chart pages around, you guys can talk about whatever you want to talk about, but when I'm moving flip chart pages around, then we get to come back to you. So, that just keeps us moving forwards, because sometimes I'll have little intentional pauses here where I'm gonna just move something, so we keep it. So this is over here for you to look at, if you wanna just stick that right here. Oh, okay, got it. Great, thank you. Should have an help, Holly, thank you. All right, so, we're gonna go through, the next process we're gonna go through is this consensus check. And I'm gonna walk you through what this looks like. Thank you for doing that exercise, by the way. It's good to kind of ground us in those things that matter.
Does it do the individual and group parent response? We do an individual response.
What I just thought. Oh, no, I didn't think you're individual, I just wanted to get the,
Oh.
what y'all talked about.
Oh,
Those are all the things you talked about, right?
I didn't know that we had.
Oh, I just wanted one word.
Oh,
I
okay.
wanted you to have some
Okay,
discussion
I got
so
it.
you could capture the gist.
Okay,
Okay, so I'm gonna walk you through what we're gonna do next. So we're gonna work on this consensus check and we're gonna use something called the 5 levels of agreement. So you should have a page in your packet that, I brought one. To wave at you. It looks something like this. Yes, okay. Has anybody ever seen? Has anybody ever seen the 5 levels of agreement before? Looks like this. That's what it looks, there you go. I forgot how that.
This one. Why, well, this, so,
So I'm gonna walk through this with you, just a quick overview of what it looks like. I'm gonna walk through what you're gonna do. So I'm gonna explain the 5 levels of agreement in a second, but what we're gonna do through this is we're gonna individually review each of the priority areas. You're gonna do that on your own. You're gonna read the document that's in your packet, and I might get Holly to make sure I'm referring you to the right one. But like first, we're gonna do kindergarten readiness. So you're gonna read it. You're gonna mark your level of agreement on that worksheet. You're gonna make any notes that you wanna make about it on that worksheet. Then we're gonna come back through and we're gonna check alignment and what that's gonna look like. So you're fully prepared. Is that I will get everybody's level of agreement. I'm just gonna hash mark up here. Individual, I'm not gonna keep, it doesn't matter who said what. I'm just gonna hash mark what everybody is. What matters who said what is gonna matter in some of the conversations that we get, but I'm not worried about meetings at that point. But we'll get that, we'll capture any places where you have concerns. So we're gonna check the alignment, we're gonna capture questions and concerns, and then we're gonna go on to the next one. So this is a part where we're just gonna try and move through these without having a lot of conversation, so that we can figure out again, if there's a lot of agreement, I'm gonna pick one. If there's a lot of agreement, if everybody's forwards and buys on family well-being, you don't need to be talking about it. You guys are basically ready to take it to the council first.
So when we talk about this, there's not anything in here that any of us are against. Like, you know, it's kind of hard to say I'm against youth success. That's how can you be
I
against
am
that?
very
Yeah, no.
friendly failure.
Yeah. So how do we score on, because it's really a matter of how much on the scale, recognizing again the resources.
Yes, let me walk you through the levels of agreement, and I think that might help you kind of figure out where you fall on that scale, okay? So when you look at this, a level 5, you can just imagine it's 5 fingers, right? A level 5 is I am all in, it's absolutely perfect as it is. I could vote on it today and be happy, right? A level 4 is I'm in really strong support of what we have on this document right now. Maybe I just have 1 or 2 concerns, but I think those are easy to work out even after the vote. Right? You're okay with it going to a vote. You might still have some things that need to be tweaked, but you're good. A 3, I don't expect anybody to give 3s, but it's in there. I'm going to tell you what it is anyway, is I abstain from the vote. Okay? It's not really a vote. It's not like an official vote. It's just a checking of agreement. But I abstain, and I left that in there only because a lot of times in organizations, when they're using the 5 levels of agreement, there might be someone in the room that just does not have the wisdom or the knowledge about the decision that's being made. So they say, look, I don't have a dog. I can't really help with this. So I'm going to let the people that know better make the decision, and I'm going to abstain. When that happens in a facilitated environment, I ask them to explain why they're abstaining and make sure that the group agrees. I don't anticipate any 3s today, but if there is a 3, I will say, hey, share with us why you're a 3. And let's make sure everybody's okay with you not voting on this particular item. Okay.
So I just want to make sure that I understand. We are here to set our priorities for the coming couple of years. This document that I printed out and brought with me, I guess is part of this also. Yeah, is the one that we have seen. We've met with you all and individually, and we wanted to talk amongst ourselves, have the benefit of hearing what others said, but we are setting our priorities. So when we are marking the level of agreement, we're marking the level of agreement as to whether or not it's like level agreement 5, when you said all in, should we be thinking, we've got these 4 categories, I want to make category 1 full on, that's where I want to put all of our resources. That's, if I had, if I were king for the day, that's what I would do. Is that what we're doing?
No. I want you to imagine that, well, you tell me when you're going to your vote in your next council meeting.
Right.
You're voting to approve not just the 4 areas, but the document, all of the things in
Right.
the thing about what you're gonna do in those 4 areas, right? So my understanding is that you already have general agreement around those 4 areas.
Correct.
What you're doing now is saying, okay, when I'm reading the page about kindergarten readiness and the things that are on that page that we are going to do with our resources to leverage everything to make sure we're moving forward, that the content there, the council has to approve that before anybody can go out and take action.
So this is not prioritization, because that's what I'm trying to,
No,
I think
it's
you
not.
and I are kind of the same thing, I'm trying.
Priorities done.
Right.
Yeah,
We
this is
have-
saying, do we like what we're doing? Like,
How we get,
like you,
how we succeed on
I'm
it.
gonna give a 1, because I don't agree with any of this stuff. But I do agree with these stuff, but there needs to be, I think,
Yeah, okay. And so are we gonna do it by little subcategory? And that's,
This is where your notes are gonna be relevant. So let me give you a hypothetical here.
okay.
Let's pretend this isn't kindergarten readiness, it's anything, it's that we're gonna apply something by the end of the year, right? Never, I don't care. So whatever, if you gave it a 1 or a 2, even if you gave it a 4, you might still have some things that maybe need to be clarified. So think about questions or things that are gaps. Say, I'm not ready to give it a 5 yet. I'm not ready in the next council meeting to vote yes, because there's a gap somewhere, right?
Yeah.
If you look at it, you read the document for whichever one it is, if you're like, if you put this in front of me at the next council meeting, I would vote yes.
Becky,
Please,
gonna jump in to kind of help if I can.
please.
So the perfect example of where we're trying to get, I'm gonna put under youth success. When we brought you the ad hoc committee's recommendations, if you remember, Councilmember Cumming wanted youth homelessness added. So she didn't have a comfort with youth success because youth homelessness, in her opinion, was not captured in any of those objectives. So what we're asking you today is looking at the goal that was established by the ad hoc committee and the objectives and strategies under that goal to ensure that you agree in different need more work. Maybe we need to add another objective to make you feel comfortable that we would be looking at the right things under the goal to establish that goal. So, for example, under kindergarten readiness, we got build a shared prenatal, strengthen prenatal, improve access to stable and high quality childcare. Just to use you as an example. Mr. Mitchell might say, I don't know that this is true. I don't see anything about family engagement in any of these. So right now, I'm not comfortable with this unless we can look at how we add family engagement. So then we do all that. Becky will come back because that's one that you can't agree on. And we figure out what the objective for family engagement does to give the comfort that we've got everything we need to look at as a team when we are bringing you ways to accomplish the goal. Does that make sense? What I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not about the priorities. Remember, priorities are set, impact areas are set, key outcome measures are set, funding areas are set. What's not set is the goal for each funding area and the objectives under that goal so that we get to the goal. And that is what Mr. Jones asked for this convening so that every council member would have an opportunity to look through this and make sure they feel comfortable with the objectives under the goal to get there. Yes,
Can I make one swing at it?
Yeah.
I'm going to sit back down.
Thank you very much.
I'm in
Not for sitting down, but for your help.
Yes, no.
total agreement that this is foundational and we're not looking to change.
Correct.
And having been one, and I can't remember, Austin, did you sit in all of strategic SMART goal meetings that vice chair, I sat in on every one of them. So what I thought I was being tasked with was setting an actual goal statement for each of those areas. So the goal statement says for kindergarten readiness that we're going to, in Title I schools, increase 5 percentage points by 2030 and using 2025 as the baseline. That's what our aspirational goal is for kindergarten ready.
So basically what you're saying is, yeah, they have these, I read these, right? Question is, do we agree with everything on these?
Yes.
That's what it comes down to.
From the goal statement, where I think there's some, can we get our head wrapped around it is one, is that the right goal? Why 5%?
No,
It's realistic. You set the realistic. Is it a good SMART goal? But then you go into the, what's the prescription that we're going to apply?
The strategy.
Funding and collaboration wise and catalyst for change. We're acknowledging that there are other players in this space besides us making investments in kindergarten readiness, in addition to us in Title I schools. So if we start looking at the way we make investments, is the right objective to build a shared prenatal to pre-K service continuum? Is it the right objective to strengthen prenatal and early childhood health supports? These are where our specific investments would be targeted to help move to meet that goal.
And to Stephen's point, is there something missing?
Right.
Let's say,
But, you know,
So-
and so.
Let me step back in so we don't, but right now I just want to make sure you all understand the activity and your conversation helped.
Yeah.
So if you think about the 5 levels of agreement, the 5 is, I think it's perfect as is. I would support, I would vote yes right now. A 4 is, I would vote yes, there may be some things we can tweak, but they're not really materially gonna change the document. A 3, we're probably not gonna use. A 2 is, I have some concerns that need to be resolved. A 1 is literally, I'm putting my foot down, there is no way I would approve this without a complete, well, not a complete, but some significant changes, right?
Can I try another example? You remember the, number for the, what do we call it? Pardon me? Capacity building. Remember one of the, we know we will have succeeded if statement of, it was 50%, right? And I was like, 50%? And we raised it to 80%. So I guess my question is, I would have been, oh, hell no, that I'm not gonna support that at 50%. But I mean, I like the fact that we're measuring it. I just didn't like the percentage. So is that a 2 with a tweak?
It's whatever you decide it is.
Okay, but yes.
The important part is if you're a 1 or a 2, you need to make a note. What specifically in that document has put you in one of these places, okay? A 1 is you are like, I'm gonna actively campaign against it. I'm not gonna support this unless this gets there, right? A 2 is, I've got some concerns that need to be addressed before I can move. The goal is to get everybody over here, right? The goal is to have everybody on the council, even those who are not here today, to be able to vote yes, which is essentially a 4 or a 5 in your next meeting. And your job today is to try and figure out where these 1s and 2s might be and see if we can get a pathway to changing those, to fixing those, okay? So I am intentionally designing this so that you're not having conversation about this. You're doing it individually, because what I want, what's that?
And then we'll explain what we measure, what we measure.
If you're a 4, honestly, I'm gonna tell you now, if you're a 4 or 5, we're not gonna talk about it. If you're a 1 or a 2, I'm gonna want some input from you about where, not discussion. I'm gonna move this very quickly because we wanna make sure we're spending the time on the things that are most challenging, right? So I'm gonna ask you to articulate, what is your thing that needs to be clarified? What is your thing that we need to talk about? What is your thing that you recommend? We'll capture those. When we're done with all 4 of them, we're gonna take a break for motivation. When we're done with all 4 of them, we're gonna take a break. And I'll take a look during the break at kind of where the conversation needs to be had based on your input, okay? My understanding from Sika and Holly is that you spent a lot of time already on kindergarten readiness, and what's the second one? Sorry. And youth success. So I expect that there's probably gonna be a little leaning more towards the favorable on those than the negative, but I could be wrong, and it's okay. If you've got some questions, then this is the time to bring them up. And then we'll be able to figure out, based on what that looks like, whether or not you're gonna be ready to bring it to vote at the next council meeting. But that is ultimately the goal, is that you're able to fix whatever gaps there are so that you can bring it to vote at the next.
The document that was sent to us on Wednesday or Thursday that had the same thing that's in here, is it identical? Was there any changes?
Oh, the 2 changes.
There are 2 changes. And the first change is under kindergarten readiness, the goal, we actually added what the baseline percentage is as of the dates listed.
Okay, well that,
Right,
that's
and
just
same thing for,
right?
and same thing for 3rd grade reading. There's gonna be only edits.
Yeah, just so you would know what the baseline is that.
For those 2.
Okay,
Yeah.
so because for ease, I'm gonna read from this
Sure.
document, take my notes, and then I can score over here. All right.
Yeah, so I'm gonna give you 5 minutes to do just kindergarten readiness, just kindergarten readiness. If you need more time, I'll give you more time. If you're done before 5 minutes are up, just wait quietly until everybody else is finished. If you're all done, then we'll start soon.
Becky, I'm gonna jump in, turn your placard up when you're done.
Oh, there you go. You can click your names in now.
They turn, so when they have questions in council meeting, they turn their
Oh, up on
placard
the
on the long side. So
Oh, that
when
works.
you're
too.
done, turn
Okay,
your placard on
perfect,
the long
thanks.
side.
So I'm gonna give you 5 minutes if we need. Just kindergarten readiness, not all of them, just that one.
Gonna do a process check here, and see where we are. Daryl and Brent are both finished with just kindergarten. That's all we're doing right now is kindergarten.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so are you done with kindergarten?
Yeah.
You're not Carolyn, but I'll take that. Oh. Carolyn, are you done with kindergarten?
I did.
Oh,
What's up with your name?
Austin,
Are
are you
you
done with kindergarten?
Carolyn,
You're done? Yes.
yes.
Just the,
Yeah. Well, Megan.
You
Yeah.
Just one thing per person. Okay, so we're gonna start with, I wanna just show of hands, I'm not gonna worry about the names, but it's just a show of hands. Who gave kindergarten readiness a 5? Who gave kindergarten readiness a 4? Who gave kindergarten readiness a 3? Good, nobody's abstaining. Who gave
I feel
kindergarten?
like I need to be a 3, and I'm only saying that because I have,
So hang on just a second.
Sorry.
Are you a 3?
no, I'm not a 3, I don't want to vote on that because it's not, okay, I'm a 4.
Okay. Okay, who's a 2?
I'm a 4 too.
But I'm not sure.
I just need one number. Are you a 2? You're 2, 2, and Mark, you're a 2.
I feel like this should not have gone first.
It's too late. We already did it. So let's just now, we've got a sense of where we are. So we're not, if we took this to a vote at the council, it probably wouldn't get passed because there's some concerns. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, but can I
Okay.
tell you my concern?
Yes, I'm getting there next.
Okay, so here's my concern. We live in a microwave society. This goes to vote again in 2032. Right, the taxpayers voted in, for tax, yeah, okay. So, well, that is great, I think Karen Carter.
2030, we would,
2030.
they vote in 2030 to,
12 years.
we're in exist, but they vote whether to keep it at 10 years, right?
Right, no, 12.
And then we would just shut down.
It would be 12. So we go back to referendum in November of 32.
Okay.
When the statute is silent, when the local referendum is silent, it's 12 years instead. So we're good till 32? We're good till 32. Oh, I did too. 12. Okay, our local referendum. is
Okay,
12.
all right. Let me allow you one comment and I'm gonna take it back.
Yeah, okay, well, it's not really comment, it's actually kind of important. So here's the deal. We live in a microwave society. We're getting ready to vote in so many years. How can, if the people that are having kids are the ones right now that are in the second part. How can you say we're gonna do kindergarten readiness if we're not even that's the issue I have is we're not even teaching these kids that are having kids. Does that make any sense to anybody?
Are you saying that, how are we gonna know how we're doing when these kids are still?
No, I'm saying that kindergarten readiness is great. I completely agree with that. However, people want to see results, right? They want to see results. Well, right now, the kids that are having issues are the ones that are in middle school, high school. They're the ones that are having
Oh,
kids.
no, these are long hauls. You don't see the results of some of these things for.
Right, I get that, but my thing is, go ahead.
So I just have a question. So your concern, it sounds like, is that you think that kindergarten. No, the next one.
Youth success.
Youth services needs to be the focus first because that will impact long-term kindergarten readiness.
Right.
You're not
No.
saying,
Yeah,
that's what she's
that's what
saying.
I'm saying.
I'm just restating what she's saying. But that's.
It's an easier selling point to sell people on.
I'm gonna ask you to break these things down. You've already voted on these 4 things, so we're not talking about what order they come in because you're gonna work on all 4 of them at the same time, right? So all 4 of these have actions and goals to support them. So this is not about the order or the sequence of events. It's about the content of the document and your support for the initiatives that are included, the goals that are there and the activities that are gonna get to the goals there.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you
Can I just
also.
ask- can I just ask Austin
Go
to
ahead.
state what she said, just so that I can process it one more time?
So I'm saying that the kids that, we live in a society, right, where everyone wants results quick. I get that these are not going to be quick. However, the kids that are having issues right now, the kids that I see in my practice, that I do GJJ stuff on, all of that are middle and high school age kids.
Sure.
They're the ones too that are getting pregnant, and their kids are the ones that are gonna be benefiting from this kindergarten readiness. So where I'm coming from is I can vote on this kindergarten, I agree with this kindergarten readiness. However, there needs to be, well, I guess that goes to this, the next thing, but I mean, I agree with this, but I also, that's where I'm at, is like, not that I really don't care about, I care about this, but there has to be something.
So,
We're- we're-
one thing, can I jump in?
Yeah.
So if you go to youth success, which we aren't on yet, and you look at the objectives under youth success, expand literacy-rich OST programming for K-3. Reduce barriers to school attendance and engagement. That's directly addressing the group that you're talking about, and strengthening caregiver engagement and early literacy. So I think we'll address what you're talking about, but under youth
Okay.
success, not under
Yeah.
kindergarten ready.
Okay.
It's a fair point, you get what you need.
Very fair.
So to
I'm the
keep
only one,
us,
So,
Well, here's the thing, is that.
Is that how you wanted me to do it?
I'm
I'm not there yet.
I'm
Oh,
fine
I
with
wasn't even
some-
asking for the.
Okay.
Okay, time. Facilitators prerogative. I'm gonna ask because we wanna get through this so that we have time for this conversation on all ones that need to have time for conversation. If we spend this time on each of them now, we're not gonna be able to get to working on the ones that have the most disagreement. So I'm gonna take us through all four of these. I'm gonna capture your concerns. We're not gonna have a conversation. I'm getting a little bit militant about this and I apologize, but that will help us frame up the next part. So what I want to get from you now is if you gave a 2, give me bullet points about where your concerns are, okay? And Holly's gonna try and capture those bullet points, 1 point per post-it. And I want you to maybe help by saying, I think we need to clarify, this is my problem, I need clarification on, or we need to have more conversation about, or I would like to recommend that we add, change, delete, whatever, okay? So those of you, I'm right now saying that if you gave a 5 or a 4, you don't need to necessarily, because you're already there, right? So if you gave a 2, just give me the high level bullet points about why, okay? But I don't remember who said what, so I know you just called.
Okay,
Give me one thing, just one thing to start with, that you're,
well, in the first, under intent, I don't know what a supported child is.
so I need to clarify what a supported child is.
Correct.
Okay, anything else?
Oh, yeah, a couple. I'm a big believer and would like more emphasis on early, that prenatal piece.
Okay. So pause there for just a second, because I want to make sure my scribe can catch up. So a recommendation is more emphasis on early prenatal care. Okay,
There's a point about developmental screenings. And my only question is, I'm big, absolutely, how many? Like, what would that mean? Let me see, increase the use of developmental screenings to identify concerns. Where are we in that?
so
How?
the clarification on the
Yep,
volume.
and then the
around-
last one, it's the use of the term an Alice family. Florida statute has changed so that we have a new income level as to what qualifies for, early learning dollars. And so by putting an old definition in, an Alice family, I know what that means federally,
So
but
is that something that you think you need to discuss, or is that a recommendation to update the language?
it's recommended.
Okay.
It's a recommendation.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I'm-
Thanks.
And then I'm fine. By the way, I was 5 all along. I just didn't want to say 5 or 4 because.
Thank you.
Right.
Okay, perfect. That's great. That is a perfect example of what we're trying to capture here. So the others, there were 2s. If you just give me the bullet points
All
of,
right, anybody else?
I work, Mark, mine got it.
Go ahead.
No, good. I got it down. Oh, you told me you were 4, you want me to choose a 2? No, no, you 6, that's not in area. Okay.
Yeah, I had Alice as well.
Okay, so we
One
got
is
that already?
it's a weird definition, it's limitation, it's the right thing. To say, the definition of
Okay.
Alice in most categories, and United Way uses it broadly, is the working form.
We got it.
That's what it is.
Okay, what else?
So I think we're looking at kids, so we're not necessarily looking for kids, looking for kids and trying to improve them. I was big on the 0 to 3, 0 to 5 issues as well. And it really didn't talk a lot about how you can access those homes. You just talked about resources that are available. I think we need to be more targeted.
So it's clarify access to the.
How are you going to access? How are you going to get in front of these people who have these 0 to 5 kids?
Okay, clarify access to
There's
0
not
to
a
5
lot of
kids.
conversation. We will make resources available, but it doesn't talk a lot about how we're getting in front of them. Kind of like the earlier conversation about the catalyst, but you know.
All right,
You have the water, but you gotta bring the horse to water to have to drink.
so clarify access to 0 to 5 children.
Yes.
Okay, how we're gonna get to them.
How are you?
So Holly's writing it down. Okay, thank you. Did you have anything else, Mark?
No, that's good.
That's clarify. Okay. All right, Carol.
Yeah, for me, and this is one of my future categories, we can't measure what we don't track.
Okay.
Right, so that's gonna be a resounding comment for each of our categories. Now, for kindergarten readiness, I can tell you, as a school board member whose entire district is Title I, we are seeing measurable impacts, right? Because if you think about when we first started talking about our investments in early learning, those kids are now being tested, right? Bond Elementary School, for example, has a high a 67, 64 qualified. So I mean, they got a DeSoto Trail Hawks Rise A. And I know that is because it was in the intentionality of our investment in early learning. And we'll see that, and once it's sustainable, when we see that it's sustainable, right, across those schools, Sable Palm got a peak, Pineview got a peak, Raleigh got a peak, right? That's because of that intentionality. But unless we're measuring it and making the connection between these investments, the intentionality of investments in the school district. So when we talk about these primary community partners, but we're talking about from 0 to 5, we also got to include TMH. We've got to include the federally qualified health centers, bond, and neighborhood, right? And you remember when Rocky comes in with the onesie, and the parents, when they come leave TMH, they get you're the teachers, the kid's first teacher, all of that swag he gives new parents, right? Well, I think that if there's an intentionality in that collaboration, and then all the partners, learning, CSC, and everybody else are measuring and talking at the same, in the same space, then we can talk about the measurements of what we see in that. So without that, right? So I know this in my isolation, but the thing about this. Okay, one more thing, no.
I didn't capture the bullets.
I got you. My recommendation is that the primary community partners involved with kindergarten readiness from 0 to 5 are in the room talking about how we get it done, right? And we're measuring those impacts across our shared investment. And then to make certain that if we talk about 0 to 5,
providers.
TMH and the FQHCs are involved in that conversation as primary partners. And that we maintain momentum from all collaborative partners and everybody measuring what has been their investment, whether it's early learning, CSC, what's the people afraid to say?
Second one would be the best.
Right, everybody's investments are being measured simultaneously across it as a continuum. Kindergarten.
Can I say that under recommendations, develop measurements
Measurements
and
and ongoing collaboration with all partners from 0 to 5.
so we've got be more broad.
Observation.
You listed out some more primary community partners.
Yeah, that's QHC, I mean, that's.
All right.
That's fine, neighborhood.
But
There's actually a third one in this
I
area
think
as
that's
well.
right, but you know, normally contracts is on, or with the FQHC, so.
Well,
We work with, well, you there, that's the steps, we need to stay.
because we don't forget, we're still on the high, so that's why we invest in our capital area health systems, right?
Right.
So the continuum that brings the value we can, will determine the learning ability we can test the very great.
Y'all ever hear the phrase herding cows?
Yeah.
Y'all are like newborn kittens, like just.
But, yeah.
I love it. I love it. I think this is fantastic. Here's what I want to do. I want to just confirm that we've got all of your concerns, okay?
Right.
So we've got clarified, what a supported child is. More emphasis on early prenatal care. Add a number of the volume of screening. Clarify access to the 0 to 3, 0 to 5 population. How are we getting to them? We've got better definition of an Alice family, or update it, change it. Be more broad and with partnerships to include primary health care for the 0 to 5, and ensure shared measurement tools across the continuum of service providers. Is that everything that you had as concerns?
So,
We're not solving it right now, just so you know, I
No,
just want to make sure.
I do think though that Daryl brought up an incredibly important point. And it is a little bit in the weeds, but that's what the goal of today was.
Yeah, but
to
we're gonna
talk-
do that later.
I know,
We're
but
gonna do that
But
later.
his idea of collaborating, of bringing all these groups together, which we've never done. We've never sat down. Sometimes they'll attend a meeting, but I think it's a good idea.
I think it's a good idea.
Okay,
But
wonderful.
we're not contracted with them. They just have to buy into what we're doing from the local standpoint, I guess.
We're gonna-
Contract with all these.
But for example, Bond and the FQHC are qualified to have funds on the RRFP. Like the ones that we fund here in other areas, right, which talks about prenatal care services they provide, right? So we've even invested in doula, in midwifery, right, which are services that are provided, that they didn't respond.
You're going to have a conversation about this after we get through the next. Step. Okay, I promise you.
I just don't want to forget, because I just saw that's.
We won't.
It's up there.
It came up because we're here.
Don't know how we do.
Do we have to post it that represents that up there? Are you good with that, or do you want to add something to that list?
So
It's what we're
Like I discussed.
I'll leave just put a random discuss collaboration with other groups.
Okay, so let's do that. Now you've seen the process once, you've seen where I've felt like we're getting to in the weeds, right? So I'm gonna let you, and I know some of you already started on this, so I'm gonna give you 5 minutes, turn your things back down, so start Carolyn back down work. So I'm gonna give you 5 minutes to do youth success. And again, if you finish, turn your name tag up and we'll get started with the collection of insights. Do you need anything? Nope, I'm good, thank you.
There's orange juice.
That's working well.
I just ran through the door.
I can. I'm thinking, but yes.
Okay, everybody's finished. We good. That's good, because I don't think I can turn the timer on. So remember to do that next time. All right, so we're gonna do the same thing again. We're just gonna say, who is a 5 on this? Raise your hand. Oops, taking off the roll. And who is a 4? And I'm gonna skip 3 because nobody's abstaining, right? Who's a 2? And no one's done. Everybody's on it. Okay, so for the 2s, again, high level bullet point, newspaper headline kind of. What is, let's rewrite my thing on here. What is, clarify, discuss, or recommend? Y'all can go in whatever order you want.
For me, for youth success, we've got to do with youth violence.
Okay, so we need to
Recommend.
discuss that or recommend?
Yeah, I mean, we've got reduced juvenile crime, but I mean, I think it goes greater emphasis.
Okay, so greater emphasis on youth violence.
Or mitigating it, whatever we do.
Okay.
We've been blessed as a community that this gun violence has not made its way onto our campus because of what has been invested in the school district.
Mhm.
But every day, our fingers are crossed. That's it for me.
That's it? Okay, who else had a?
Yeah. And I don't know how we do this across the board, but, was checking with some of the agencies that deal with homelessness, we got many kids that are home. They live with the family, out of the woods, it's called.
So that's the partnering involving.
Youth, and kindergarten readiness students, they're.
Partnering involving agencies and catching youth homelessness.
Right. And I think that should be across the board. I don't say that.
All right. That's also a recommend, right?
I had it as a clarify,
Oh, okay,
focus
thank you.
on collaboration with agencies who address youth homelessness. Does that capture it correctly?
Yeah.
I think it does.
Okay. So I think it's in there, but I think we need to clarify it and make it more intentional.
That's good. We're not gonna talk about it now. We're gonna keep going. All right. Do you have something to add?
Yes, we haven't done any RFP relative to, youth employment or anything besides our own program with our youth internship, right?
We do that.
But we don't have we haven't done an RFP to stimulate pathways for careers for young people.
No.
Okay, so
That's coming in the future, right?
do you want them to
Maybe.
recommend or you're good with it? Not now.
I think it depends on what we present with this.
Let's put it up there. Recommend RFPs.
Recommend RFPs.
Everybody said, got it.
Recommend a path.
Great. The other 2. Okay, okay, so I don't really know what it falls under, however. I don't like goal number 2. I don't think it captures the full intent of the priority. So clarify or discuss. Yeah, like I feel like if it's only hitting one thing, like literacy, okay, like goal number 2, mental health, engagement, all that, workforce, okay, so I know there's some that are like workforce, but again, what about the kid 15, okay, they're not getting hit in there. So discuss the goals and then do a different one that, what about kids ages 10 to
If I
15?
could just give the context of the ad hoc committee, I think I'm the only one that put it there on everyone. I can tell you
No, that's
that
not right, that's not right.
there's an acknowledgement that there are many more goals that fall up under the these priority intents that we knew that were out there. But it was within a limited amount of time and put a stake in the ground for some areas that we can measure. This one in particular, Rocky was involved. We had Brooke presenting to us on multiple ones, just so that we could get wording around ones that we knew that were in alignment with the school board, with what they measure.
Well, and that's fine, Rocky and whoever I'm telling you guys from where I'm sitting at. I can't tell you, the crime, the mental health, all of that is just absurd in this community. It really is. And to be quite frank with you, what is a reading for third grade gonna do when I just did an assessment on a kid that's bringing a knife to school trying to stab people. That's what I'm saying, is like, are we not doing that in the kindergarten readiness? Like, I feel as if this section needs to be focused on the kids that are past the kindergarten readiness. We can give their parent, like, we need to be in the weeds with them, trying to help them until they just start being functioning members of society at 16 and get a job. I mean, like, that is because that is the age group of kids that I am seeing right now. The teachers are retiring or trying to get out of school, not because of these kids. I mean, they're throwing desks and they're doing, like, how are we doing stuff with this group?
So we've discussed what we are doing to support youth 10 to 15 years old. So.
Well, I was thinking from third grade to, because I see the goal 3, which is 18 to 24, employment and all that, which I like that. I think that is great. The issue I have with goal 2 is that, again, it's okay.
This year, yeah, between.
There's a gap.
Yeah.
And there's a big gap.
Kindergarten grade.
And again, we've got to figure out the most effective way to impact this. And you're quite right, it's gonna be in the school.
Okay. So,
I'm
sorry. And then
Go ahead,
Paul,
go ahead,
I'm
go
gonna
ahead.
applaud both of you. Austin, I hear your passion. I can tell that you are involved with this and you're seeing the impact that this is having on them. And that's why you're on the council. That's obviously why you're here in the room. So I think we've captured that because you said your concerns about goal number 2 and then discuss what we're doing to support those youth in that age group. I'm gonna move us on, Mark, because you gave us a high mark on this one, right? You were a 5 or a 4?
Well, is high good or bad?
High is good. That you were-
Oh, no, I'm a 2.
I would say too.
I thought we were,
Five is
I
that you
looked
were-
at the thing here, it says, no, I'm just going off of this. It said, what was it? One was, 5. I'm a 2.
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure that 5 was, I'm ready to vote yes on.
I'm a 2.
Okay, so we're gonna get your concern.
I'm a 2.
We're gonna get your concerns. Then what are your concerns? And let's make sure we've captured them.
My concerns are pretty straightforward. I think 3 is actually, I think that the number 2 is good because I do think that third grade reading scores are absolutely key to an individual's ability to be successful. So let's just make that best thing. I think the goal number 3 is the wrong goal completely.
Okay.
I think it's an outcome, it's a desired outcome, but I don't think it's the goal because I think you do leave a big gap. I think the goal needs to be something that's more in line with truancy rates, school engagement rates.
So
If they're
recommend
coming to
goals for
school,
3 is
then
revised,
then it's an indication that they are getting some level of support.
measure behavior.
It's a behavioral measure.
Okay.
So I know Rocky probably the easiest one. To some degree, they're looking for the easy thing to measure.
Right,
And
okay.
he wants to measure truancy rates.
We're not
or
fixing
school
it yet,
engagement.
but you're recommending that goal number 3 be revised to measure some of the
I think it needs to,
behavioral.
I think it needs to be revised to focus on reduction in adolescent crime, reduction in truancy rates, things that would indicate that they're in a more stable environment.
Okay.
I mean, and then we have to drive those things that create that change.
So was that your one thing?
That was the one thing.
Okay. So
I do got, it's just some verification, so I do think, summer programs, I think employment programs, I think there's some schools have shown that they can develop, in healthcare, it's just simple. you can come in
I'm
and
listening.
engage in health participants where you leave high school with a high school record. Yeah, but you also have a CNA,
What are programs
like
for
you have a
high school?
CNA license, you're certified, and it gives an exposure. But I think anything that you can do to create engagement with employers and through local, state governments, give them some incentive to create opportunities for kids. It doesn't have to be money, but it can be some sort, I don't know. Government can give up businesses also.
Oh, without, you keep banging into me.
I think we gotta create an environment where employers feel inclined to bring kids into their environment.
All right.
right now.
I'm gonna-
Otherwise, they're not gonna do it.
I'm gonna pause. Thank you. We got that up there too. Recommend expansion of employment programs. Sorry. Another thing to add for, okay, perfect.
Okay, under groups that primary community partners, I think we're lacking and I'm gonna mess up the status women and girls and the council of boys and men, men and boys, but I think they need to be in there. I think there is I just crossed out to 3 because I was like, I'm not sure that, so I'm with you on this, but I like your addition, so I'd support that. And then a huge piece that's missing is family engagement, like,
I'm sure about that for the next one.
oh, okay, well, I've been looking.
Oh, yeah, because the next one is
Yeah,
about.
Because you can't improve truancy rates, reduce process, without training and force people.
Right, and so I kept my mouth shut on those, one for family, okay, so
It's saving it for number 3.
I'll save it for number
All right, do we have everybody's, did I miss anybody's
Yeah.
concerns?
Thank
Okay,
I still,
thank you.
I still captured it, just recommend adding strategies for more family engagement.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving on. Moving on to number 3, which is family well-being. I'm gonna give you 5 minutes.
Yes, sir.
Back down.
Yes, sir.
5 minutes to do the next one, which is family well-being.
Yeah. As employers. You gotta create something that's.
All right.
So some of the, up there.
You did not. I did. Prepare it. So.
Well, that last one, really is also.
Recommendation.
Yeah, that's my
You already have report to that. No, Daryl had said that was a concern. It's not about, it's about the measurement process, right, Daryl?
Yes, sir.
That there's a process for measuring. He was concerned about that across all 4 of them. But there's not a system to capture the data. Or may not be, maybe there is. I just wants to make sure.
You go right ahead. You were permitted. Oh, that's nice. Use that one. We're done, right? Like this one, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Mark's done, okay. So Carol, we just need another minute and we have to wait for Austin to come back in, so. We'll go ahead and get everybody's votes and just get Austin to weigh in when she comes back. So who is a 5 on this one? A 4? A 3? Nope, sorry, we're skipping 3. A 2? 1, 2, 3. And a 1? Oh, you're also a 2? Oh, yeah. Sorry. That's okay. And 1? So we just have to wait for, we'll get her. So let's go ahead and start capturing that ticket.
Okay, thank you.
Let's go ahead and start capturing your concerns. So, gave it a 2, again, high level bullet point, Holly's scribing for me. What specifically is the concern, and is it a clarify, discuss, or recommend?
Okay, on 2, I think, well, I agree with the whole concept. I think they did a great job, but I was add on the community partners, the social organization.
Okay, recommend adding social organizations as community
But
partners.
emphasize youth development and on the strategies, I would also think we could be more expansive and just coordinate with those agencies that address youth homelessness and family, this is under family well-being,
Okay.
family homelessness. Youth homelessness.
Okay, got those? All right, what else, Mark?
The goals, I think, are more outcome focused, and that's good. I don't have a problem with the goals. But I think there needs to be another goal, and that is an FRC engagement. Because that's our vehicle to get out there. There's nothing that tells us how active our FRCs are. But with that, I do think we don't have the right partners necessarily, or we don't have all the partners. I think churches, you have the churches in there.
Okay, so that's the same thing Carolyn said.
And in
social.
particular, like we talk about mobile services, we take FRCs taken from churches on Sundays. And that's how you get in front of some of these.
Okay.
The churches, if you get the ministers engaged, those guys are your biggest advocates in the community. So Daryl knows this, I know this, we all know this.
Great, okay,
Um,
got that.
And then also the partner that we don't know if there is law enforcement. Law enforcement, I will tell you, in communities that are very effective, they are seen as members of the communities, not guys who walking or driving around in cars and arresting people. But you've got to create, what's the term?
Community policing.
Huh?
Sorry, community policing.
Yeah,
That's-
basically walking the streets, getting to know people, creating an environment, because that creates a sense of stability with the communities where they feel safer and they feel like they have an access. In a lot of communities, they actually are afraid of calling the
Okay.
cops.
Got that?
So I would add them in there, and they're good.
Okay. Who else had something to add on number 2? Or was a concern?
For me, it's speeding up the creation of family resources.
You
Okay.
do that.
I mean.
Do we not?
the-
Sorry.
So we already know the impact of it, and like you said, if we have to change.
That's our biggest tool.
I mean, there's a fantastic tool, and although we are not entirely a resource-rich community, there are a number of partners that, when we have those family resource centers, either in our schools or in these target communities, the impacts are immeasurable, particularly when those centers are sustainable.
So you're saying you want to have a goal specifically around family resource centers. You're seconding that, basically. More.
But we only have one.
Okay.
But that's what I'm saying, we could do a mobile service, we could marry it to the churches, we could take that service and put it out there.
Oh, yeah.
What else? On the juice. Thank you, Paul.
So I go back and forth with the last one, but if this family involvement piece,
Yeah.
I mean, there was a piece about fatherhood, and I thought, oh, good. We're recognizing the importance of fathers in the lives of their kids and how it drives down absenteeism, and that's why I thought on the, oh, that's right.
Is there a goal specific to that?
I think, I want to, you know what, I want to include, my recommendation is that, like the last category, we include the Commission on the Status of Women and Girls, and then the Council on Men and Boys.
Okay.
Yeah, and then that gets where I want, which is just
And involvement.
family
And
and.
involvement standpoint. Okay, thank you. All right, Austin, we wanted to start it without you, so you want to tell me what your rating was on this one, a 5, 4, 2, or 1? A 2. Okay. Is everybody a 2 on this one?
Yeah.
Okay. Somehow I only have 5 votes up there, so I don't know. I mean, yeah. All right, do you have anything you want to add, Austin? We have recommend being more expansive on agencies who we focus on youth and family homelessness, add social organizations who impact this area, churches, mobile services, et cetera, council on women and girls and men and boys. Be better partner with law enforcement, establish a specific goal around expanding the availability of family resource centers, and then recommend additional strategies for family engagement. Is there anything you'd like to add? All right, last one, and then we're gonna break. So, 5 minutes on capacity building. Yeah.
Only don't get measuring.
You want to across school, okay, right. Same one of those on the first. sign that.
Oh, everybody's done. Wow, perfect. Okay, that was fast, you guys are getting good at this. All right, so we'll get Daryl's when he comes back, but on capacity building, who's a 5? 4? 2? Daryl, what do you want capacity building? Oh, great. All right, so let's capture, again, bullet point, things that need to be clarified, discussed, or recommendations. So I have 3 people contributing here,
Well, I got stuff.
but you're ready to move it forward.
With some limitations, I got.
What, you've got something you want to share? There. We're good, but bullet points, right? Just bullet point.
Okay, then put me as.
It's fine, it's fine. It doesn't matter. It's fine.
Learned how to do it. If you're a 2, you get hurt. If you say
That's
5,
fine.
you get. I'm a slow learner, I come around.
No, you're not, that's fine. Go
You
ahead.
got experts.
You got like what?
It is, it's not tradition.
Oh.
Whatever, yeah, it's fine.
We spend a lot of time here, which quite frankly is good, but it's also in my word prioritize is my lowest problem.
This whole, that's,
Capacity.
yeah.
Here's where but it's worthwhile. I get it. And we're not taking it off. So
What would you change to go?
what I would change are a couple of things. One is, I'm not sure, on the last one, strength of organization, sustainability, Leon, and CSE Leon's internal capacity, especially with what's going on potentially with funding. I don't think I would put an emphasis on building additional resources with the new organization, dedicating more resources.
Okay.
This is advancing CSE Leon staffing structure for capacity, but I would not put that as a priority. I do think,
Okay.
though, that there is an opportunity to create a partnership around this to do better. I think we completely missed the target here because of where we live. We've got higher ed, and in particular, FSU and FAMU. I know FSU in particular has a very strong College of Social Services. They can do a lot of this in partnership with us, and they will want to do it with us if there's a research opportunity.
Okay.
Because they're looking for research dollars,
So recommend.
which could bring additional dollars to us. We're looking for additional dollars. So what I would do is I would add under community partners, higher ed, in particular the College of Social Services. I would partner with them not only to do the measurement piece, but to create a research angle for funding it.
Okay.
That would be fine.
Okay.
That would be fine.
That's it. That's good. When we talk about leveraging the academy in the areas, I think capacity building is extremely important. But one of the things, again, go back to measurement, one of the things I think the team can do, how many of those persons go, because I think certain people have a very bad taste in their mouth because of Mr. David Van.
Take the money and run.
Yeah.
But what would be interesting for me to know, this goes back to measurement, how many of those ones that we've made investment in are now operating at a higher level of efficiency, are better prepared to provide competitive responses for the RFPs that are coming out with, such that we have more people to provide even more things or ropes in the safety net. And that's the whole intention. And I can tell you, one of the founding UPHS, the juggernauts were always there, the Boys and Girls Club, but then there are also neighborhood community-based groups that also have big impact, particularly communities in those areas that may be underserved, right? Where they're hitting them directly. It's not just the broad brush, it's also the finer brush as well. And when we talk about measuring outcomes, I think that can waylay any misgivings we may have about how the money is being utilized when we've made those investments. And so when we measure, I think we'll find out, can you paint an interesting story where we can either continue to provide that sustainable kind of investment, or say maybe we'll do it to someone else.
So you're capturing measurement again on this one as you did the other. Daryl, what was your number on this one?
I don't know what they're like that.
Okay. All right, what else?
Can I say this too? And I don't think we need to be squeamish about our goals and objectives, especially in capacity building, based on what the legislation just passed this week. You know, I think we need to move forward where we are right now, and then depending on what happens with the referendum. And I think we can make change in, but I think right now we need to just take it where it is. We're the council members, we're looking out for our children, and I think we need to look at our budget where it is now and not anticipate any budget shortfall until
Oh, no.
until
I
we're
just
forced
think
to do
it's-
so.
All
You
right,
just need to be
what
cautious.
else are
That's not-
reasons for twos? What else do you want to make sure we're capturing up here?
But to that point, right, everybody knows St. Harbors, this Amy has impact. Right there in Griffin Heights, right, on a frequent basis, right, and that's the capacity building that we invested in, that they can then expand their services, that's critically important. And I think when we measure that, it'll tell us a story that will equip us to be great, even greater. I think that's across the board, eventually.
Two things. One, I completely agree with Mark that under strategy C, I just put a big X, expanding CS, our staffing is crazy, with or without the legislature's movement. And I go back to the word catalyst that Brent brought up in, I forget which category 1. We, in addition to taking taxpayers' dollars and spending it on programs, we are also supposed to be a catalyst for others to get involved. And what I would suggest under capacity building is we rely less on us to go and find the Miss Annie's, and I'm not picking on Miss Annie because I don't know her program, but rely more heavily on Second Harvest to say, go out and help us. We'll be the catalyst to have people, when we're awarding contracts for you to provide services, we are expecting you to reach out into the community and find the Miss Annie's if you are Second Harvest, or find the diamonds in the rough if you're whoever. I think that we forget that we, one, can't fund everything. And every time we try to fund something small, it feels kind of good, but I think that right, I think that 15,000 or 20,000 would be better, like under a bigger contract where they're coming forward and saying, the large organization is coming forward, and they can also do day-to-day hand-holding, and that would mean less work for the CSC staff of hand-holding and more in auditing and measuring the results.
Building their capacity so that they can build the capacity of others.
Yes.
So that is part of the theory of change, right? Okay, what else? Anybody else have anything else that you're concerned about related to capacity building?
Kind of captured that.
Recommend the continuation of mandated partnerships at the investment level?
Yeah, I know Holly knows one, but yes, that is, we should have done.
All right.
Before we break, can I mention one thing? And I know that everybody got this, I think at 2 different meetings, but it is what St. Lucie County is doing. And Sika just handed it to me, and she's so dead on right. What they did, and really kind of what we're here today, is here are the program highlights. Here, the program highlights are different for Leon than they are St. Lucie County. But essentially, here's what we're doing with our money, and here's the result of it. So, for example, they're ensuring every baby is a healthy baby. That was one of their goals, right? 70% of St. Lucie County newborns received a voluntary newborn home visit. 97% of parents increased knowledge of early brain and child development. Not exactly sure what those mean, but that was their highlight. And then the community indicators, how they knew that they were achieving success, was the infant mortality rate reduced 61%. Anyhow, that's kind of what we're trying to do, so that we can look at Leon County residents and say, here's what we did with your money. That's right. And so
I love St. Lucie County for doing this, and I don't know how we create one, but after today, we have this side.
And maybe you can answer this. Who set up the way the CSC is? Is it like all this in the state of Florida, all CSCs are,
Every CSC is different.
Okay.
And that is by design because they look at their own community
yeah,
and develop what their goals are for their community.
right, but I guess my question is, funding programs, like does every CSC fund programs?
Some CSC, well, every CSC funds programs. There are some CSCs that run programs. We made a decision early that we would not run programs, but rather we would fund entities and their programs.
Okay.
If I can further with what Councilmember Mitchell has shown you, because, and this goes back to what you said in a meeting before, Councilmember Vanderwendel, we will never have enough money to fund everything. But these goals are designed, because really what, in my head, I wanted you all to focus on those goals and just look at the pieces underneath as part of the way we get to that goal. Staff will, once you accept the goal, go through and even take what's underneath, take it down even further, increase the number of partners. Those are just examples. So once you accept it, it doesn't mean that's the only thing we do, but it guides what we do.
Right.
And so I have to say it because I'm sitting here and I feel like this is what y'all pay me to do. I just don't want you all to get too far in the weeds of how we accomplish the goal, but rather agree that this is the goal we are trying to meet as a part of the community indicators on the right side of that sheet. And as we meet that goal, we should see a difference happening in those community indicators. So our council is so passionate, and that's what I love about you guys. But sometimes you get in the weeds and it's hard to get to the final goal. But yes, so yeah.
I'm gonna take Daryl's comment and then I'm gonna set you up for the break and we'll do after.
Okay, I agree with everything that has been said. I appreciate the facilitator thus far. And I agree that we can get in the weeds, but our formal meetings does not provide us with.
That's true.
Opportunity to have the
Absolutely.
discussions that we're having now. And so here now, based upon everybody's area of experience and expertise, finance, every other area of expertise and interest, particularly when you hear our newest member talking about what he's heard, lived experience in serving the population, is an important part of our discussion. So I appreciate your taking a moment to turn your back and let us talk, because here now, all of that is coming to the fore. And I also want to make a point of acknowledging, as you ask your questions with our newest members, we are fortunate in that so many inaugural members still remain. Y'all who even predate me, you, Paul, Mark, when we first started with the people out of Miami, with the needs assessment, all of that, it has been a cumulative activity. So here now, on of this opportunity for us to talk about it, we are not by no means subject matter experts, but we are informed. That's what I think is critically important about this conversation. We defer to the subject matter expertise of the staff and often of our partners, but we are an informed Children's Services Council because of what has been our intentional investment of our time, reading, being a part of what has been the cumulative process that brings us to these documents that populate our wall and staff that we've chosen, the financial event. So I'm happy that we're here to be able to talk about what we've been able to witness and experience. And you remember I started off with saying that part of this is a victory lap, because through this conversation, we're able to analyze, and I think that would have been a nice companion document to this. What have we invested in? What have we paid money? What have been the silos that we've had those RFPs in? What has been the timeline since they started to where we are now? And then we can talk about, again, going back to measuring outcomes. what has, that also is another part of the conversation. What have we seen as been the impacts of those? And then what are gonna be the next RFPs that will be coming in our next fiscal year in response to what we have on the wall? So I appreciate the director and look here. And let me also say this is my last thing before we go to lunch. When we, and it's not just because I love Sika, Mrs. Green, but one of the most important things that she does, without any fiscal impact, in her position as a children's services director, is a convener of conversation and is seen as a subject matter expert in this space. Her greatest contribution is her conversations to community groups amongst other stakeholders in this space, armed with the implied authority of the children's. So this is so her in place in this space is also been critically important. And it's not found here, but it is certainly the impact, quite frankly, has been impacted. I want to say that to you as well. So but anyway, that's my side.
And I echo that, I'll give a minute, but our executive director is a great advocate for the Children's Services Council here in Leon County. She goes to forums, she goes to meetings, she meets people in the community, she talks to church members, groups, what have you. I mean, we don't know it, but we hear the feedback from members in the community to talk about how great she is and how she's informing them and educating them on children. Because many people in our community really don't know about the children's services council.
There have been no
They
place,
don't.
there have been
They
no
don't.
place for children.
Right, right. But she's our face.
That's right.
She's educating people, and we do have a report card after the first 4 years. It's not as detailed perhaps as what we've got. We don't have 4 years, but we did do a report card, and I think that report card speaks for itself on the liability and what we've done to raise scores in our schools.
I like that.
How to raise schools, what have you. Right.
So here's what we're gonna do, thank you. Before we go on break, let me tell you a couple of things. So while you're breaking, Sika and I are gonna take a look at the flip charts. So I'm gonna use what you just said as the catalyst for what we're gonna do when we come back. What Sika needs and the staff needs is to know the goals, right? So imagine you're going on family vacation and you're saying, okay, Sika, get in the car and start driving us, but Sika has no idea where she's supposed to be and when she's supposed to be there. And somebody in the room thinks she's supposed to be in Atlanta and somebody else in the room thinks we're going to New Orleans. So the most important thing for today and what we're going to look for in the flip charts is places where there's concern specific to the goals and getting clarity on those goals. So when we come back from break, I'm going to break you up into smaller groups that don't know what they're going to look like yet. And I'm going to ask you to focus on anything on these flip charts that is specific to the goal and finalizing the goals for each of these areas so that the goals are ready to be voted on. Okay.
Okay, and then when did we get to decide, this is a new question, I guess it's just a question. The implementation of these goals, like I get, you said like it goes down, right? And you guys handle that stuff, but who is the expert on the staff that can say, yes, this program is going to do really well with children mental health?
So when we develop, so once you approve the goal, the information that we're providing you underneath each one of the goals is the roadmap from the research we've done. And when I say we, I mean Holly, Nina, all of it. And what was convened in the needs assessment document.
Right, but I'm saying like the providers, how do we screen out providers? Because they're.
Well, we do an RFP. Our procurement process is set. So we do either an RFP, a RFA, a ITN, or there could be a sole source. But we bring that to you as a council with backup information as to why we're suggesting this procurement. And so that's where, when you talk about the conversations we're having, that's where we have these conversations with all these community providers and determine, you know what, this is the #1 and only entity that can do this work, and we bring a sole source. If there are several, we let them apply for it. If we want to have one, we do an ITN and then let you guys make that decision. Does that help?
Yeah. challenge right now is that without the goals,
Yeah, I think.
they're working kind of with one hand tied behind their back.
So I just want to make one point, and I appreciate everything that's been said. I think that the conversations that we are having, Daryl's point, is every bit as important as the goals. I don't think anybody came in here thinking these goals are all wrong. Heck, we've been pursuing these for 5 years. What happens frequently is it's not a matter of going to New Orleans or Atlanta. We've made the decision to go to Atlanta. It's how are we getting there? Are we walking, taking a flight, or taking a train? And I think our conversations are good indicators, and that's below the goal
I
level.
agree with you 100%. And those conversations are valuable. I don't disagree with that at all. The challenge is that until if I'm gonna drive somewhere, if I don't know where I'm going and when I have to be there, I'm just out for somebody to drive. But if I know I'm going to Birmingham and I have to be there in 5 hours, I'm going to Birmingham.
But even if we talk about that, I'm not sure we're ready to do all this, because some of the conversations up there, we felt we didn't have the right goals.
Right, exactly. And that's what we're gonna do after the break, is I'm gonna let you work on those goals and see if you can figure out how to get those a little bit better, make them what you want them to be. So that when you go to the next council meeting, you can vote on those goals, which then frees up the next step. Now that I know where I'm going and when I have to be there, I can start figuring out. And the conversation that you've offered today has not been missed. All these notes are here, and they've heard everything that you said about where you think there's gaps. So there's opportunities to change the tactical things that are underneath that, but you can't change the tactical things. If you're changing the tactical things without having a clear goal, it's just noise.
I guess I'm just, was under the understanding that there was already a committee that did these goals.
There was.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
So I was under the understanding we were coming here to decide, to figure out how we were going to get those goals and implement what, as a committee, all of our expertise and how, because those goals were already, this was already done with the committee, correct?
But
Okay,
it
yes,
hasn't
but
been
Hasn't been
accepted.
approved. That's
But
it.
there was
Okay.
never any
Okay,
intent
Rim
that
was
they
on
were
the-
all the goals.
Right, but
It was a starting.
I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, if anyone has said you don't like maybe a few goals, but it's mostly been the implementing part of it.
That's my point exactly. There's
Yeah.
probably 4 or 5 goals that need to be tweaked or adjusted. And when you have those done, then you'll know that you're ready for the next vote at the council meeting, and you guys can talk about all the other stuff. But without having the approval, without the staff having the approval of the goals from the council, they're kind of hamstrung, but they can't really get to work because that's after 5 years. Well, they have some goals, but they're just not as specific as they need to be. So let's take a break. 10 minutes. You guys can talk on your break if you need to. Let's take a quick break for 10 minutes so I can reset. I need to go to the restroom. I can reset and Sika and I can look at everything up there, and we'll probably have about.
And the grazing
So how long is
Yeah,
it?
we're grazing station. Wait a minute.
You are now being recorded.
I want to take those ships, take the cruise
Okay,
in here.
recording's back
Show
on.
me that.
All right.
Mark,
What?
the recording is back on.
So here's what we're gonna do. And again, part of the focus is on getting things so that you can move towards the vote with the council so that the work can actually move forward with that support. I will tell you that in walking through with Sika, there's a lot of stuff here that is great insight and commentary that is very helpful to understanding some directional things where you all have your passion, where you have your expertise, where you have concerns about things that are on there. What Holly just walked through with me was this document that essentially on this Port St. Lucie document, this side, you're right, my left, right? Do that very well. Are the goals? They have a lot of them, but these 4 talked about the kindergarten readiness, youth success, family well-being, and capacity would be over here. And then the other things, a lot of the other information that's on the document, looking at around the objectives would be kind of sub-measures that are over on this side. So this can't really be, these measurements can't be solidified and identified until we know what these are, right? So that's the objective here. So when we looked at the walls, and I'm gonna walk you through on the kindergarten readiness, all of the comments that are made up there are really more about objectives than they are about the specific goals. So let me just ask you to stay with me for a minute, go to your document for kindergarten readiness and look at the goal that is noted on kindergarten readiness. What is it? It was helpful to pull it up on the big screen. I got it in front of me. Okay. So there's under kindergarten readiness, right at the second column, the second row on the top of the page, there is a goal there. It says increase kindergarten readiness rate in Title I elementary schools by at least 5 percentage points by 2030 compared to the August 45 baseline of 35.7. And the measurement tool indicator is a PM1 universal scaled score performance of 707 or better, which is, according to the experts, a universally approved measure. So nobody, when you gave your scores on that, indicated, and your notes after your scores indicated that you had any concern with that goal. Are we good with that goal?
I'm good with it.
On everybody at 4 or 5 on that? Okay, so kindergarten readiness is ready to go to the council for vote. With the assumption that there may still be some work that's done on the activities and technical things that are underneath that, taking in the feedback that you provided today. Excellent. I'm gonna skip and go to capacity building. If you want to go back to capacity building. On capacity building, there is a single goal on capacity building. It is establish baseline organizational capacity metrics by 2026, and support at least 80% of partners in achieving measurable improvement by 2028.
Who's that?
I'm going to defer to the experts.
We went through this in great
Wait,
detail.
we're in capacity building?
I skipped to
we did.
capacity building on purpose. There's always a mess. Let me read it again. Establish baseline organizational capacity metrics by 2026 and support at least 80% of partners in achieving measurable improvement by 2028.
So it means across all of the accountability measures that we have for our community investment partners, we would measure where they are. We create a measurement scale of where they are as far as compliance, as far as accountability, as far as everything that we require them to do. And we measure that, and we expect that 80% of them are going to improve by 2028. And so if they are currently scoring at 50% of what we require and what we're measuring, the goal is that they hit 80% and 80% of them hit it.
Yeah, I was okay with this goal. It was the underneath it part that.
Right, that's exactly the question I was going to ask you next, Mark.
And
Did
so
you
the
get your answer to what that means?
So does that mean the organization that we funded should be at 80% by this year in terms of completion of their deliverable?
No, what it means is, first of all, by the end of this year, we will have the measurements defined on what determines whether an organization that partners with us is performing at 80% or better. So it's not just them meeting the metrics, but it's also meeting the deadlines that we set. All of the things, ensuring their budgets are correct. So we create that and then we measure it so that by 28, 80% of those organizations are doing much better. So they, in other words, become partners. We don't have to worry about whether they are meeting our requirements.
Kind of an employee performance.
So
review.
you prepare.
How many- how many are above that?
That's right.
Okay. So as the guy who moved it from 50 to 80, let me tell you what I was thinking. I would assume that all of our partners, whether it be in the capacity building category or the regular, are meeting the standards. In capacity building, because you may not, the capacity building is you may only get funding for 1 year. So it would be kind of silly to set a baseline and then they get it for 1 year. Maybe they qualify for the capacity building plus, whatever that was called. But maybe they don't. And it's 80% of all of the vendors that we're using, the partners that we're using for capacity building would be at 100%, not 80% and 80%.
So it's not just, so I did misspeak that.
Okay.
It's not just SIPS participants. We are talking about any organization that partners with us. So I'll give you an example. We partner with an organization for after school. We set a deadline. This is a real example. We set a deadline of April 30th for them to have your budgets into us from the awarded programs that you all said would get the award. April 30th is when you have to have your budget to us so that we can get your contract executed by May 15th. The first contract we got was May 8th. So that's being out of compliance. Now, we're working with them, right? We work with them and we do all of the things. Our goal is that when we say April 8th, 100% of the ones that are awarded have their budgets in by April 8th. They meet all those deadlines. And so it's all of the capacity pieces behind being a good CIP in addition to meeting the metrics of your program. So it is all of our awarded.
So that means, for example, you provide in advance of that deadline and technical assistance they require in completing it, and then when they still continue to go awry, that triggers something because you put all the things, just the systems in place,
Right.
that they should be compliant. They're providing with quarterly updates on their activity. They're getting sufficient notice, and then they still don't comply. Boom.
Then that becomes a part of
Then
their.
we're just doing a program ourselves. If we're doing everything for everyone, to me.
We're not doing, but we're not doing it.
We provide-
I meant to say, it seems like we're giving them, because are we not doing, didn't we partner with the Human, or the Human Service, United thing to do their applications, and then like,
What,
I don't
okay, what category would Sika, the folks who didn't get their budget due by April 30th? When we're measuring that, would that fall into fail? And
So right now, we don't have a category.
I know, but imagine that we do.
So we would have a category that says timely submission of budget by deadline, yes or no? No.
Okay, so that would be a no.
Right, so
Okay.
that would be a no.
And so that I'm sure that what I'm voting on is 80% of all of the measurements are met by each individual, or like, what's the 80%?
It's the program entity. So each program is run by an entity,
Right,
right? So if we're funding them for 3 programs, then that's 3 times you gotta get it right, right? So we're measuring your entity, we're funding you for 3 programs. So if you didn't get the budget in on 2 of those programs on time, that's a knock, and we measure that. So it's 8.
so it's each individual entity has to get an 80% or better. Not all of them collectively have to be at 80%.
Yes.
Okay,
So the collective.
no, the individual is 80%.
The individual is 80%.
So there are some that are 100% now, right?
I don't
Maybe
think-
all,
We won't have anybody.
we don't
that's-
have anybody that's 100%.
Won't have anybody that has,
So if
that,
I can do an analogy, if these entities are employees, if you look at the end of 2027, after you've established the evaluation criteria, you look at the end of 2027, anybody that's under 80% as an employee is gonna go on a performance improvement plan, get let go.
and that then goes into, once we establish those guidelines, there becomes a part of a procurement that they might apply that says, input your, whatever we call that, your score. And if your score is below a certain rate, then there may be points you don't get for that,
Like
and
you
it,
bars.
So my
or you could be.
Okay, my question during my level of frustration during the awarding of out of school programs on one particular program, and I said I wouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Those percentages were nowhere close to 80%, but without naming names. That program in 2028, after we established criteria, if they would have 2 years to get to 80%. If they didn't, they'd have to put in their number. And the committee, which didn't have the advantage of knowing what their score was, would now know what their score was. And if it wasn't 80%, they wouldn't qualify for funding.
Well, that would be a part of everything. So it would be a part of the metrics they make. So everything that you saw on them, there would then be another category that talks about their compliance with what we require and when we.
That I am surely glad we went, because it was originally 50%. I did not understand.
Well, that was.
So you're good.
80%
Of
is
that
seems a
program,
lot.
that would take the overall.
I don't think it sounds like we should change that one.
I'm gonna make an observation and I'm gonna turn it over to Daryl for his comment.
I thought the same thing.
When you reviewed this document earlier and you gave your feedback on reasons why you didn't give it a 4 or a 5, none of you mentioned a concern with the goal.
That's because I think we misunderstood.
Okay, okay. So is this now something that there needs to be some conversation about it, or you're good with it now?
But I'll be honest with you, I was looking at the other areas, I kind of overlooked goal number state.
Okay.
One of the things I think is very important about this conversation, it goes back to, and I appreciate you putting this control in, because this goes back to stewardship, right? One of the things that we talk about at Dawsville as a whole, right? And so here got a hold of partners accountable, and I think this ought to even drill down to a part of the executive director's report, quarterly, semi-annually, to make us aware of what has been the performance of our partners. That then takes me back to one of the things that I said in my earlier comment about how important it is that we engage, make sure that we create an environment that stimulates the creation or the sustainability of other partners. Because what you cannot do is teach hungry. Some of these partners are not hungry. There's a sense of entitlement, and subsequently that comes back into the way they respond to your deliverables, right? So, and to your deadline, right? But there may be someone else out there who may be hungrier, who will be obedient and comply, right? So there's a presumed arrogance, and I have worked as one of the founders of PHS and worked with a lot of, and y'all, many of y'all United Way folks, y'all know that there's a presumed arrogance because they think they're the only ticket in town, right? And so I think to have this metric that you created as an administrative tool is important, not as important, but I'd like to go for. So what information is important to more people.
So what's this goal need to look like?
Well, okay, I would admit.
Perhaps one up real quick.
Yeah, I would at least get it to 85%. I mean,
80, I would make it higher. Here's the thing is, if you can't do the basic things and get your stuff in on time.
Let's give ourselves a high D low. Let's go the high D low, let's say 90%.
Okay, right.
Well, right, but I was thinking it was something very different.
But let me
interject.
interject. I think this is a goal that, so as the person that works with these programs, I think 80% is where we should start. Remember now, this is a goal that we're looking at to 2028. As we see them get better, we increase the goal. My suggestion, let's not take it too high. And then you're creating a point of failure, because let's go back to when we first started. We have all these nonprofits. We have been credited as being the funding entity that requires most accountability and the most, what's the word I'm looking for, Howard? Rigor when it comes to our applications, and that has been challenging. So we have seen improvement. So let's not go too high so that we can give an opportunity for that continued improvement.
Yeah, I like where you're going. And I know, believe me, as I look at the table, here at your kids, so I'm not going to you, but the other three sitting at the table, you want high quality stuff. So no doubt in my mind, I appreciate where you're going. I would like to see it at 85%. Know this, you're going to determine what the criteria is. I'm going to say whatever the criteria is, and you can make the criteria more stringent. But, we're doling out money. So I would just say 85%.
I think anything higher, you're
All right.
us up.
I don't want to, I'll support 85. Same goal, same language, except for that.
Okay.
Okay. And we'll move it to 9.
I like 92.
In 20, we were at 90-92.
Yeah, you're relating to
So they have about-
My understanding that's correct, let's have one conversation. That goal is they have to meet the criteria that our staff sets for them at a 80% rate.
85.
85%, okay. So you're telling me that we are going to give people the community's money, and they only have to meet 85%? That's just, I get it.
Councilmember Vandalyn,
I know, I'm just saying.
what I will say is being a newer council member,
Yeah,
only because she doesn't have the history of what we've done over the last 5 years. Councilmember Vandalyn, there is no other way for me to say this but to say this.
Say it.
It is amazing. Even with some of our good entities, that have great reputations, there are challenges with doing what is required. And it is only because we are in a community, no fault to anyone, where it was more about getting services out rather than the outcome on the other side. And so we did create, I think Chair Jones said it, our community has been created in this entitlement space. And so we have been working over the last 5 years to change that. And I will go on record as saying, because of the work that this team has done, even the county and the city have changed theirs a little bit. So
A lot.
yeah, a lot.
Which, and
And
I'm
so-
saying, I agree, I think it should be the highest standard, I think, hold on, Daryl, hold on. I get it's a culture, and that's the thing, is the culture starts here, with us having these high standards, and again, at the end of the day, we report to the people, it is their money, and if you cannot, as a business person, right? If my business, if I don't meet requirements of insurance companies or audits or whatever, I'm out of business. And that is what our team is, correct? Okay, so I get the 85%. I'm just, at the end of the day, it's like 85%. We should have 98, 97, 95. That is what our, and you know what? At the end of the day, we're doing them a service because we're making them, hold them to a higher level. If you want to be the best, do you not get held to a higher level?
Right.
And if you can't, then
And
go be mediocre.
And I agree, but I also look at it like a student who's been underperforming. Let's try to get to the B, they hit the B. Let's try to get to the A, they hit the A. So let's give some room.
Raise the bar 2 years
Right,
from now.
so we raise the bar.
And I, Austin, you and I mean, same hill, same pew, same everything. 5 years ago, I was like, what do you mean you can't, 100%, like, and I was adamant about it. And to Asika's point, we don't, I didn't want to throw baby out with the bathwater when I made the motion to approve the funding of the out-of-school services. I don't want to lose sort of the momentum. You and Mark and I think everyone wants it perfect. When we first started awarding money, we were awarding money for programs that only had a 68. They're not on compliance in an effort to get services out on the street. But each year we increased it, and pretty much we have not approved anything under 80% in the application. So 80% doesn't seem high enough to me for compliance. Again, it was at 50%, and I don't think anybody understood that, because I was like, 50% seems awful low. Now knowing what it means, 80% seems awful low.
And that's just compliance, so 2
Right.
hours.
Are all the metrics that we're talking about objective measures, or are they subjective measures?
Yes, we're gonna find out.
I'm sorry. I was going over, say that
Are
again.
all of the measures that go into this 80% objective measures, meaning, did you give me this by this time, or are there any subjective measures subject to the grader?
They can't be
These are all
subjective,
real.
these are all real. So for example, did you meet the budget deadline? How many times did we have to
That's
go?
all I'm asking.
Yeah,
I
how
just want to
many
make sure, is there a greater influence, a greater ER influence score, or is it 1 + 1 = 2, and that's the number?
1 + 1 = 2.
Okay.
Did you submit
Good
your
there.
reporting on time?
That's all
Did
I'm
you, yeah.
And these are conversations. And so this conversation is not just germane. This conversation not only occurred here. I'm sure when Mark was the chair of the United Way, they did the same thing with the CHSP process, which many of us have been involved in, right? Regrettably, it is a cultural thing. So what we're
You know, I
doing,
mean, there's challenges with all of them.
right, so.
I wish it was the case, but then there was a lot of the agencies who were given money.
And so, but let me take, but this.
You know, we're not.
But what we're doing, Caesar, this is reality. What we're talking about, describing this goal is the cue. If church starts at 11:00, but the culture starts at 11:15, the way you change it is by if they go by there but one person at 11:00. We are. Right.
Yeah,
But that's the food.
the consequence is either in some cases you ask for the money back, in other cases you just don't reward them any further.
Right.
So that's the 80%, 85%.
But I'm saying we're measuring that so that they can do that. That's the.
Okay, which I'm hearing violent agreement here.
I think it's
So-
a part-time,
85%.
Bumping it to 85%, continuing what you're doing, measuring that, and then using that. And then ultimately, what I'm hearing also is that there is a desire among staff and council to raise that bar continuously so that the performance of the people that the agencies that you're working with are getting better and better.
is it possible to say by the first year, that first 85, and then by second year, it's going to be a bit?
I would be concerned with doing that for this first set of goals. I think when we start, because remember, these goals are to take us to 2030, but for this particular one, the council wanted to do 2 years, so it'll be 28. So as we approach 28, this particular goal, we will look at again, because we'll have the data to give you.
Yes.
And if everybody's at 85, you can bump it up to 95 in 2 years. Or 100 or whatever. Okay, so we're good with this one. All right, so what that leaves us with is on youth success and family well-being. There were 2 goals on youth success, so if you want to go back to that page.
I was good with the first one, so I didn't like that.
Okay, so that's the thing is that there was opportunity for reviewing on number 2 and under the first and second one under youth services. We're not gonna talk about that right this second. I just wanted to orient you with that. And then under family well-being, there's one goal under family well-being. And, there's 2, and the one that had a question was the first one, which is listed as goal number 4. Number 5, so I'm gonna talk about number 5 right now, under family
That's,
services.
but my recommendation was add an additional goal around family resource center engagement.
Okay, hold that thought for just 1 second. So on family well-being, down towards the bottom of page 7, goal number 5. Okay, reduce the percentage of food insecure children in Leon County by 10% by 2030 using fiscal year 2023-24 as a baseline. So the question is everybody good with that goal?
No.
So what are your concerns with that goal, Daryl?
Well, I think that is important, but I think for me, it goes back to measuring out learning gains or academic progress. That a stronger family also means itself to better students.
So would you eliminate this goal or would you?
No, I like
reduce
the
this
goal.
But Daryl, we have that goal and a bunch of other things. We've got 3rd grade reading scores in one of them, we've got kindergarten readiness in one of them. It's not like we don't address
I
those.
think there's the wrong one. So if you're looking on page 7, towards the bottom, it's 4 rows up, number 5,
Reduce the.
page 7. Families, I don't know if y'all pages might be different.
I got
So reduce
Reduce the percentage of, thank you, go ahead.
All right.
So you're okay with that one?
All right.
So it sounds like everybody's okay.
No, I mean, I don't know that we haven't already. If we're using 23-24 as our baseline, we know where we are today.
Yeah, how do we do that?
Top is 24, 25.
So there, right underneath it, it says measurement indicator, Feeding America's annual map of the meal gap data set for USDA food insecurity estimates as available at the county level. That's the method for measuring it.
Well, I get.
And that's the
I'm saying,
last available.
Where are we?
What,
That's the
23, 24?
23, 24 was the last available number. So we haven't looked at where we are because we don't have a goal yet. So if we get to the goal, then we can look where we are. If it turns out,
You already met the goal.
well, we haven't met
No,
the
it's
goal
reduced
because
it
we
by
haven't,
10%, which means that
right, so.
Why don't we
what-
just say we want to
23,
increase it by
24 is
X
already
percent?
established. We will know what 25, 26 is at something. No, I don't know why we don't know 24, 25. So I'm not this group.
So do you want to take this goal out, or do you want to change it?
I'm okay with it. I think it's a good idea to focus in on reducing hunger, because that's what you're.
Absolutely.
No, don't talk
I'm
about
just
that.
not sure.
I thought so, we were.
No, we're
Something
not.
that happened 2 years ago.
But this is, these are always a couple years behind. So when we
Why
have.
don't we say
the-
10% from the most recent baseline by 2030?
That's, and I guess sounds like this is the most recent baseline.
It is.
These are only standards of family well-being.
So under family well-being, there were two goals. One of them was on food insecurity. The ad hoc committee thought that that was good to measure.
I think you're right.
And this is the last available data. They're always 2 years behind. So 24 is the last available data. So if you accept this goal, we're gonna pull it for 24 and look at what it needs to be to reduce it by 10%. And then look at where our programs, because remember, now we don't fund feeding programs. We do it within the confines of our program.
I've got a suggestion, this is you. Why don't we just say reduce the percentage of the food insecure children in Lane County by 10% by 2030, using the most recent available baseline, and put in parentheses 2024 anticipated, or whatever.
So that means the goal is gonna move every time. We're
Yeah.
trying not.
No, with the baseline, I'm just saying the most recent, whatever the most recent one we have
Yeah,
available,
because-
that's your baseline.
Right, not this, not 23, 24, 24, 25 has to be coming out fairly soon. What, July? Okay, so.
Or whatever,
24,
whatever the
25.
baseline is in July.
10%.
Yeah, right, because it may have dropped from 20, I don't think. it has.
10% or whatever it is, whatever the baseline.
From 24,
You can take the
25.
Previous year, 10% from the previous year.
But then that is reasonable. So how about, instead of using 23, 24, we use 24, 25.
That
That's it.
comes out in June.
That comes out in July.
Okay, so
We'll
that-
change that.
We'll change that,
Yeah.
yeah, that's.
That's a couple days.
Okay. Okay.
Couple more.
So if you had this in front of the council, you would all vote yes on goal number 5, reduce percentage of food insecure
Just do
children in Lane
20,
County by 10%
or
using
25.
24-25 measure.
So sorry, Tika, I know you're gonna hate me for this. So in 2029, we're still gonna be using 24, 25.
Yes,
No.
because
Yeah,
you have to.
You just have to start.
Gotta have a
Each year,
baseline.
right, but each year we'll do 10% of what,
No,
No, it's just to get there.
Once we meet our goal, we can change.
Say food insecurity is 15% of the population. We're gonna move it basically 10% in that.
us in concert with the other group
Yeah.
that deal with food
That would
insecurity.
be a community.
That's why that document is so important.
Right.
I got it.
This would say it dropped 10%.
Yeah,
And
5 years.
if it did, goal met, do goal as a
Yeah,
good
stop.
I got it. Okay, so we're good with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Do you have?
No,
we're not.
You're not good with this one. I'm not talking about this one yet. I'm just talking about this one. Okay, then pause there for 1 second. We're gonna get there. I promise you. I promise you.
So at least 5.
So there are 3 goals remaining that were on your flip chart pages. So matter of factly here, look at the time. It's 5 minutes after 12. We have until 1 o'clock. So we can go and talk about the 3 left as a whole group and work through what they should look like. Or if you want to, we can break into 3 groups and have each group work on
It's a small enough group, there's only.
Or there will be bloodletting.
So,
Bloodletting.
because we're on the family wellbeing page,
Start, Rick.
let's go ahead and work on that one, and that one was the goal at the top of the family wellbeing page, and it was on the list, it was something that somebody gave it, everybody gave it to, so it was something that somebody brought up as being a concern, so let me read it. and then let's work through. Right now, what you're saying is if this came to a vote in the council, you would not vote to approve this goal. So the goal, the objective now is to change this to whatever it needs to be changed to, so that you all feel comfortable putting it in front of the council and that the council would vote this. Okay?
Yes.
Can I read it?
Yeah, read it.
It's goal number 4. It's on page 7 up towards the top. It's the first goal under family well-being. Reduce the rate of verified child abuse and neglect cases in families living in neighborhoods served by family resource centers by 10% by 2030, using fiscal year 2024-25 as a baseline. So it's the same measure process. You set it based on a baseline, and if you hit it early, adjust it.
So. I'm,
What? You wanted to go first. I'm sorry. I made him wait. Let him go, and then you go.
And I called it enough?
Yeah.
Let's go in there.
Got his little fingers were trying to get my.
My only, I'm fine with what you- I just don't think that child abuse and food insecurity are the only measures of family's well-being. Housing,
They're not, but if we get too many goal statements, our funding is gonna be all over the place. So,
but so aren't we already dealing with housing instability?
it's not as a goal statement,
Yeah.
it's as an objective
I have one
underneath
too.
several of the goal statements.
let me throw one out there, because I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with this as a goal, but I do agree that it's maybe too granular. And it's just one of 1,000 granular things that we could measure about the home environment. My issue is that let's focus on the things that we can absolutely control. And that is the level of engagement of families in their family resource centers. Let's measure how many people are engaging and maybe have some idea of what level of engagement people have in their family resource. Because if they're engaging in their family resource centers, then it will impact us. I mean, that's what we don't measure here.
Don't we
So,
separate?
hold on,
Wait.
hold on.
Let's keep capturing the
Hold on.
inputs. Let's just
I
get to the
agree,
inputs.
Mark, but that goes into the accomplishment of this goal. Remember, family resource centers are evidence-based programs
Yep.
that address child maltreatment in the neighborhoods where they are risen.
I get it, but family resource centers are our biggest tool to impact all of these things, quite frankly, because we're gonna do 0 to 5, 0 to 3 brain development. If we're gonna create a more stable environment in the home, if we're gonna reduce whatever abuse, et cetera, it's gonna be through the biggest tool we got is family resources. And my thing is, let's measure that. Let's measure the effectiveness of our efforts to have that as an effective tool, or at least
And it's
So we will
all of the
measure.
issues that we're.
so that's why I want to measure that. That's what I want. I want to
So
measure
it
how
would-
active we are.
So it would be one of the objectives under the accomplishment of this goal. So it's not changing the goal to engagement, it's adding that as a part.
I would flip that. I would say one of the objectives is to reduce basically neglect and child abuse. That is an objective. That is an outcome you're trying to achieve. Just flip it. And the goal is by improved engagement, broader engagement with families, with family resource centers. The objective is to reduce food insecurities. The objective is to reduce child neglect. The objective is to reduce abuse in the home. The objective is, by the way, to also improve early childhood brain development by reading in the homes, et cetera, et cetera. That whole thing is family well-being. Our biggest tool is our family resource centers. So let's measure that.
So hold on.
And then.
Let
Let me just add
but I wanna ask
hold
you
on,
a
let me
question.
just add this. Beauty of what he describes, measuring its impact, right? Through case management, we'll be able to determine how many of those issues are served through the case management process. That's the problem. But then the family resource center, the families are served by the persons who are there. So they do a profile on each person who comes to.
Right, but if they're already a part of TCF, they do not
But it's a different kind of case management. It's a navigator.
Right. Yeah.
You use Navigator.
Yes, so that's the question I had to you at the last meeting, when we talked about this, was if a family is involved in DCF, they have to go get resources from DCF.
Through the
They cannot
CDC.
use our family resources.
They get their services through the CDC. If we then serve them, that's the plan. They get all of their services through the CDC that's funded however millions of dollars they're funded. The purpose of the FRC is to keep them from ever getting there. My concern about changing, and again, it's you all's decision, but my concern about changing the goal to engagement is very singularly focused. You could go from this many families were engaged to this many families were engaged, but that doesn't prove to you that anything happened with the family. If you look at the reduction of the verified abuse, and engagement is one of the objectives, and the engagement goes up, and you have all the things that go into that engagement, you should see the abuse level go down. And that tells you that your FRCs are working. That's all I'm gonna say, and I'll leave it up to y'all.
Okay. Is it possible, instead of doing reduce the rate of child abuse and neglect, we do like increase community, I don't know, support or something, because it.
How do you measure that?
Right, but I'm saying if through the family resource centers, right? Because I'm just thinking, okay, well, you have families that come in and the kids are in foster care or something like that. Like, if they're able to engage in our services, I just think the reducing child abuse and neglect cases is. That's a
Interject, I don't really, just for me to get some clarification, because it almost feels a little like this might be a chicken and egg kind of a thing. But if you look at, again, correct me when I'm wrong on the theory of change, it's the do blah, 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 so that blah, blah, blah. So are we at the do or are we at the so that?
Well, I think.
Well, how are you gonna measure it?
Sorry, in terms of the goal setting, is the goal the so that? Okay, so the so that is, in this case, the way this goal is defined, the so that is reduce verified child abuse.
Right, but if there are other programs, if we have families, so you're saying that we're only going to look at the ones that come into our community or our family resource centers, and then go, okay, we had one, how do we even know if there's an abuse report or something on, they have to self-report it, and a lot of times they're not going to. But how are we going to say, I mean, it's not like we can go on DCF's map and go, okay, in Leon County, there was, I don't know, 1,500 things, and, oh, well, last year there were 1,800, so.
But actually, we can't. That's how we were able to even come up with this goal, because we had the ability to go in and get to the neighborhood census level of verified abuse in a particular neighborhood. And so when we did the RFP for the FRCs, that was part of the information that we gave to the ITN, so that then the entities that would submit to the ITN would have that information to determine the locations that they would offer to us. And so we can go in and.
Okay, but we don't know if they're off from, the reduction is from the family resource centers or from the services DCF have already been giving.
No, because you start with the number of families. So neighborhood, FRC is there. When the FRC came up, the number of families in that neighborhood that had verified abuse, I'm just gonna say 50. The FRC is now there to provide services over the next 5 years. That number has gone down, because now you don't have more families coming in. So that number goes down as those families are exiting, you don't have more families coming in. So that's how you make the determination as to whether the center is making a difference in that.
It goes back to, I feel like Mark's thing, where why is the goal not related into the?
Because engagement is singularly focused. Y'all know I don't go back and forth with y'all a lot, but on this one I am.
engagement is singularly focused to the number of families that are engaged.
Okay.
It is a,
I,
it is a part of.
I get that you do this to get that.
Yeah.
I do get that. But the thing is, I don't see anything in here where we're measuring how much are we doing of that to get this outcome.
So we.
And I think that's, that's why I was originally, let's add something in there. Let's add one. I wasn't suggesting we take this out.
Gotcha.
But I think that we need to be incentivized to do mobile services that go to the churches, to go out and build additional resource centers or whatever, because that is the biggest hammer we've got.
I
So
like
that's
it.
the house.
I like it.
Can I,
That's the
I
house.
want to remind the council of one thing, that is definition of a family resource center. I really wish it would be renamed.
Yes,
It
it
suggests
could be a
a
whole bunch of things.
center where there's resources for a family.
Yeah, it could be a lot of things.
And Chico made this point earlier, it's an evidence-based, model that drives down child.
We could change the definition. I agree with
Yeah,
that.
I love the idea of adding and, to this goal, which I think it's an and because
Yeah, I would say
even though we are saying we're using this, this family resource center model, we are, but we've expanded the definition of it. I truly believe. I'm hopeful that that expansion will drive down child abuse and neglect. But I think we do need to measure the number of families and engagement. And I think
And
you guys are.
that's a part of their
So
sort of
we'll just
metric
put
for
it,
the
we'll put
managing
it as part of this goal. There's a semicolon and,
Rather than two things, but three things.
I want to emphatically reiterate that I think reducing the homeless youth need to be included as a goal of the family well-being. And I think it's measurable in the communities that we're talking about, we're looking at. We know that there are homeless youth who live in the forest, in the woods with their parents.
But I think,
They're bringing down the rates in school to.
Then just.
yeah, but you do know though, like, DCF, go ahead, because then go ahead and finish.
But no, what I'm saying is these children, they're not nourished. They go to school, they don't have balanced meals, so how can they matriculate in school?
I've got a real.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, here, this is easy. Just in number 4, just put reduce the rates of verified child abuse, homelessness, or not, whatever.
Homeless
and
youth,
neglect.
yeah, that's what.
Just add that in that area, verified child abuse, homelessness, and neglect cases.
Homeless youth and neglect.
Yeah, just put that in there.
That's what I'm asking.
Just put
What
that
we
in.
do.
That's easy. Don't even, just add one word.
That's what I'm
Just add
saying.
it to that.
Okay.
But you was.
So here's someone who does a lot of reports for DCF. Kids are not, if you live in a car, it's not like it's a report and you're gonna get, like, the definition, what they look at, I think our definition is different from, like, I could have my kids.
Standardized definition.
Right, I would say, so like, I can have my kids living in a tent, right, as long as their basic needs are being met.
They're not considered homeless.
They're not for school. Right, and they're showing up for school, then the state does not say, well, we need to get involved and this is not used. So like, again, like, and I knew actually some people that I went to school with that now, they live in the woods, they're like naturalists or something. Yeah, so like, I guess that's the thing is like, from us,
Homeless
by choice, or, yeah, so there's like this.
And I think it's the defined population. We know it's there.
It is, and why there are kids that are homeless out there, right?
And I think to find a way to address it,
Or
I think in some of our RFPs that deal specifically with enhancing our youth, we could put,
When we-
in there and deal with.
Child abuse, but-
Yeah, homeless.
And by the way, when we did our dots, Commissioner Cummings, you remember this, I think Daryl, you were on the board, we put our dots
Yeah.
on the charts. There was, every dot pretty much was on early childhood
Intervention, yeah.
and homelessness. I mean, those are the two that got more dots than anything else.
Okay,
So you remember.
Let's bring this back to-
You brought us to gunfire.
let's bring this back. So what I'm hearing, and I'm just gonna say this and see if you guys, if I got it right, is that you're recommending, and if this recommendation is correct, you're all gonna approve it, right? Reduce the rate of verified child abuse, youth homelessness, and neglect cases in families living in neighborhoods served by family resource centers by 10% by 2030. Using the whatever.
The only thing is that I do think that CCA needs to, on the homelessness piece, and this is working with Commissioner Cummings. There needs to be at least some understanding of how do we factor that in with some sort of definition that we can actually move, because if we can't move it, I'm not sure we should stick it in there.
But I think it's the same thing if you neglect cases. You
Well,
know, how do
maybe,
you-
but neglect, we can measure.
But they're defined differently and they're measured differently, and I'm concerned
Maybe
putting
neglect
homelessness
actually.
into the goal dilutes what we can measure and effectuate.
Well, maybe.
You
How about we make
maybe
it
make that-
a goal that we just don't meet?
we can identify that.
How about we just make it a separate goal? Sometimes in life, you don't, if we go to measure and we don't meet the goal, whatever, but by putting it together with the neglect, and we don't meet the homeless, but we do meet the neglect, the purpose of a family resource center has nothing to do with homelessness. It's
Okay.
all, that scientific model is all about child neglect.
Let's hear from Daryl and let's see if we can come to a close on
But
this.
it gets you your homelessness as a goal.
Different goal, I see.
But children's homelessness can be taken up. One, their children, the way we identify homeless children in the school district, because you have homelessness, and that's why we don't say homelessness anymore, we say instability.
Okay.
Families and transition.
Transition, right, because homelessness can be that this week you're at Uncle Paul's house, and next week you're at Uncle Carolyn's house. What we do as a district, so that we can maintain the continuity and instruction, wherever you are, we'll provide transportation for you if you're a family in transition. Right, then we also have one homeless family housing program that serves families, and that is Family Counseling Bench. So we're able to identify and touch those, or enumerate those children because we report it as a district to DOE.
Maybe neglect makes it up. Neglect.
Maybe just so how about a separate goal, just one separate goal? Again, we're not gonna meet all of our goals, but if it's important to us, we should measure it.
I don't have a problem
And
with
that-
it being a separate goal. I
Okay.
think it satisfies the intentionality that Chair Jones talks about, and I just think we would be derelict to.
One of the action items underneath that as a goal would be to develop or define the
Develop a
baseline, right?
separate
Figure out,
goal
okay,
for
what is it we're gonna measure?
And just by way of reminder, we do fund
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we do.
4 homeless
So we
shelters,
have a way of measuring.
so we can measure that. What I will say though is, that is probably the only way, with the limited resources we have, I don't see us, you all decide, doing some sort of procurement that specifically addresses homelessness, but
Believe me, we don't have the.
No, my thought was, capital procurement overall. And maybe one aspect of it would be some measurement or some response from the respondent that says, we will seek to address certain da. I'm not saying having a whole, entire procurement based on, addressing homeless people.
But we sort of do, even though it's sole source, we do family promise, we do to.
But it's surviving drive, but it's.
Whatever the heck.
I know it's
CTYA, Freon,
Yeah.
Everett,
Well, we don't measure it, sure.
Yeah, we do.
Oh, we do?
Yes, we get data from them. If you get money from us, give us data.
So we already have things that, we have a measurement in place.
But it's
But
not,
it's emergency housing, and so we are not putting money into alleviating.
so can we do this? Can we make it a goal? Because if you make it a goal, it says it's important. we already do the funding, making it a goal to help reduce homelessness or whatever the catchphrase is these days, of families in transition, kids of families in transition. And Commissioner, you mentioned it in another category. I just want to single. We don't need to, yeah, because if we mention it a whole bunch of times, we're essentially saying it's more of a priority than anything else because we're mentioning it in each category.
So
By itself.
The family will be able to capture it. It's more global, and I think you would capture
We're
it.
gonna hear from Brett, and then we're gonna see if we can bring this topic.
There's a community partner in that space that needs to be involved, and that's the Big Bend COC, because they get amount of money
Yes.
to fund specific organizations, homeless activities in this area. And I think setting a goal, they're gonna be the people that know the baseline. My wife has gone out, they do structured inventories of known homeless camps around
Absolutely.
the organization. They know where they are, they meet, and they get funded. And I would just encourage us to work with them to find out if there's a baseline
I think
numbers
that
there.
could be part of our strategy. That's what
Okay.
I think that's a good.
So I'm gonna recap. We're good with goal number 5 on this page. We're gonna add a goal related to youth homelessness. And then,
In coordination.
Wait,
with-
Goal number 5 is, goal number 5 to Mark's point and Austin's point was engagement. So
we're not gonna do food insecurity.
I lied. It's
So goal number 5, we're done with.
But we agreed to add an additional one around engagement.
So goal under 4, sorry, everybody look
Under-
at goal number 4.
No.
Under
Yeah.
family, no, what we said was under
Family
family
Resource
well-being,
Center.
we're gonna add a goal, we're not taking away 4 or 5, we're adding one.
It's a semicolon and, so it's a separate item altogether. It deals with, we're measuring family engagement at the resource.
They are,
Is it a part of the goal or is it one of the objectives?
It's part of the goal. We want to increase family engagement.
On the family well-being.
okay, I'm gonna just ask a clarifying question, because, well, 2 things. One is when you put and in a goal, it really are.
But the new goals,
Okay.
but the
And
new
the
goals.
other is, because how do you know if you're winning, if you didn't win, you don't hit the other thing, right? But the other is that the way Sika described it, and I'm just testing my understanding, is that the rate of engagement of families is not indicative of.
That's why we're not taking away 4 and 5, we're adding one that is specific to level of engagement.
Is
We
it a-
want to measure it.
Okay, so that's my clarity. It is measuring and monitoring engagement, but it's not a goal. You don't necessarily want to increase engagement.
No,
just
you want
measure.
We do want to increase it,
Yeah.
absolutely, we want to.
Because we've expanded the definition of the Family Resource Center from what we put out as an ITN. With the evaluator and the negotiator, I was on both. It's very different. It's turned into something very different. So Mark's point is a good one, and that is, I'd like to know that we're succeeding in engaging families from the neighborhoods that it serves. And I don't know what the percentage increase is from a baseline perspective.
Let's build the baseline and start.
Right.
Because even then with that goal, you can always say, okay, how many of these families are we having programs in that are educating on homelessness and are pulling them in? I mean, how many kids, but, okay, I mean, I know, one of the little boys growing up with my brother, his mom had a really bad accident. He lived with us for 4 or 5 years. And you know what I'm saying, like, there are families that are willing to do that, and it's helping the community, so like, I feel like we could also add that, the transition, or what did you, transit?
Families in transition.
Right.
Yeah, it's something to measure that. I think our family resource center.
But also, is one. I think it is made a little rhyme, but she made better, but one of the things I think still should put about family resource centers is that it is one of our major investments.
Yeah.
Might be the most expensive thing.
Yeah.
for that reason, here now to include it as part of our work, something we're measuring and measuring its impact, but it does require, as you described, it does require redefining. So it was, so if there is a national measure, then
There is.
they would follow. But even in the rebranding of it or renaming of it, right? Here now we're talking about what we anticipate to be the engagement in terms of what it does, right? That's an important conversation to be had here at this time as we talk about our, because if we didn't do it here, where else would it possibly be here? So I think this conversation is worthwhile to talk about this because here now, we talk about stewardship and the return on the investment. Here, one of our principal investments, we're redefining the methodology about who and what it supports and what we
I
intend
don't know what the number is.
our community.
You say
It's
monetary
something that we're creating that is barely tailored for the young county. And I think that's kind of well spent, worthwhile.
I agree.
And the percentage increase should be significant, because in April of last year, we opened Fort Brady. So April of 2025, we have a baseline, a 25, 26 baseline. And we should expect the number of visitors, I don't know how you want to define engagement, but it's gonna be by bodies going in and bodies being served by that resource.
And I go back to, we don't need to look at the traditional whatever. And I think we built this thing, this is gonna be physical up this presence, but I go back, how do you get in front of families? And I just think about churches and having a mobile family resource center that goes to churches on Sunday. It's where people,
That's why they
you
call it
use that to pull them into the system.
And I'm not saying this conversation isn't that.
No, but this is
I think it's
in the
been
weeds for a
Like,
reason.
good
reason.
I think
Yeah.
this
We
is
spent
so much
This-
money.
This is our
Yeah.
biggest hammer.
Right.
If you want to know what we believe, I think most of us believe, is going to be the biggest driver of change in this community as it relates to children.
Yeah.
It's going to be impacting the home environment. And the family resource centers are our biggest hammer.
And
So,
so with
by
that, I don't disagree with you. With that, what you wrote down as the proposed,
Right, let's say that, is that a part, I guess it's under there, but
All of them are interconnected.
Yeah.
So when pregnant women come in, they refer to the parent name. So all of
it's all,
it is
so there's
interconnected.
so much that we could get, I feel like, from, yeah.
so without getting into the wordsmithing of it, generally your concept for this goal is monitor and expand engagement of families through FRCs. So there would be some numbers there, have some baseline and then improve it, right? So this needs to be fleshed out. This would be, there's currently 2 goals under family well-being. The reduced rate of verified child abuse and neglect cases, and then the reduced percentage of food
Yeah,
insecurity.
take
You're good with those? We would be adding, monitor, something to do with increasing the involvement with food, with family resource centers. And then the other proposal was to add a goal, and again, this one needs some wordsmithing and some numbers in it. Reduce the rate of youth-related homelessness by some percentage using some data as a baseline.
That's where, go back to Brett's comment and then resource issues. We don't have the resources really to impact that.
So you're
We need
concerned-
to really engage with some other.
But that's where we use the language coordinate, I think if they comment, it fits into there, but I.
Yeah,
I think it's a nice.
goes back to that first word that Brent mentioned of catalyst. That's what we're here for, you guys, you know?
So I'm hearing a sticking point on the word reduce. That I'm not hearing that you feel confident that this organization has the ability. to
I think the mindset has to shift so that this is a community goal.
Yeah.
We believe it's important for our community.
Right.
to be
But that's not our
homeless, but it may not be one that
You
we
don't like
fund.
reduce.
I think it needs to be a strength base though, and it could be a increase the
Awareness.
increase
The
community engagement, or like housing, something like, because if we're reducing, it
we
is,
can't be the driver.
right, and I think that's, so increase community partners out of the like,
We're not going to be the driver, but what we're doing is bring resources to facilitate or engage when it comes to family
Engage,
resources.
facilitate.
Right, so really can't you use words like increase, because ultimately the utilization of whatever resources are made available there, you would hope.
Well, I think we can use the word reduce through facilitation, coordination,
Okay.
Well, we just,
faith-based
well, I say
organization.
coordinate, work with the community to better address, because I don't think,
So that's an activity.
I don't know. It's just not our core
If
focus.
we have it as a goal, all right, and we understand, see this sitting right here. We understand, we are already spending about $600,000 a year for homelessness, right? So it's clearly a goal of ours to help take care of kids who are in transition. But we set it as a goal, and as part of that goal, how we're going to reach that goal, that is, how do you, we are, coordinating and collaborating, and we are the catalyst to bring all of these groups together, including the COC, like that's really, that's great that we are, we're sitting in this special seat.
Maybe it's more of an objective, because it's not a.
Well, that's the part you guys have to decide on. Is this a goal, which is a result?
Go. Why can't it be a goal to coordinate?
You guys work that out.
Why can't?
So Commissioner, I have no problem setting it as a goal, recognizing that we may not meet the goal. I know it's important to you. Everyone on this 10-member panel, there's something that's important to them, and we fight for it. And look, I like the fact that we work together. I know it's important to you, right? I'm good for you. There's nobody that wants a kid without shelter. Setting it as a goal is great. I just don't, and that's why I said it's important that sitting here listening to this, that we are not saying we, the CSC, are directly responsible for reducing that on our own, because we don't have enough money. We don't have anywhere.
It's
If
not
we took our entire budget
Right.
and threw it at
But
homelessness.
we can draw attention to it, we can help
Yes.
bring other people in,
Yeah.
but it's just not.
By making it a goal, I think we are drawing attention.
I think so. We're being intentional.
As long as there's
We're
not,
not neglecting.
nowhere in there, is there an inference that we are going to fund it above
But
what
we
we are
already
currently.
right.
Yes, we are.
Okay,
So we can.
so we're good?
We'll
We're
figure it
adding
out.
those two? Yeah. As goals under family well-being, with
Yes,
the wordsmithing.
with
Okay.
the
That's added.
series of community partners.
That comes
Yes.
down the road.
Right.
But I'm
Okay.
saying it out loud, so that it is.
They heard you. You heard them, right? Yep. Okay, so like increasing community awareness, so. All right, last one is youth services,
Success.
success, sorry, youth success. And there are two goals under, let me just level set for everybody so we're all on the same page. It's on page 4 in your document. There are two goals, both goals have questions about them. So goal number 2 is increase the percentage of Leon County third graders in Title I schools reading on grade level by 5 percentage points by 2030 compared to school year 2020.
Love it.
I'm perfectly fine with that.
Everybody's good with that one?
Love it too,
Yeah, I
right?
don't have a lot of notes on it.
Which number 2?
Said discuss the relevancy of goal number 2 related to literacy was the note that we put up here. So if nobody has any concerns with goal number 2, then we're good.
I did.
Okay, then I wanna add, that's fine, I wanna add a goal, so keep going.
Okay, hold that thought. So everybody's good with goal number 2. If it went to vote, council for vote, you all would say yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. And goal number 3 is increase the percentage of young adults ages 18 to 24 who are employed or enrolled in post-secondary education or training by 10% by 2030.
I'd get rid of that one.
Yeah.
And I would change it with something that related to school truancy or reduction in,
Okay.
basically reduction of LSU
So that's why
crime.
we let's parse
But
this
something
out.
about reducing truancy.
Let's parse that down for just a second. Hold on. I'm just.
I don't find us adding something else, but this is critically important.
Right, we don't
I
need
think
to.
out though, it should be a
Well, I
goal.
mean, however you want to do it, but.
Post-secondary training,
but
yeah.
the way we alleviate poverty is to make sure that there are pathways for young people course, who heard him live with.
But my, no, I get that, but my issue is, and it goes back to some of what Austin said, is, yeah, we talk about third grade reading scores, and then we don't touch anything until they get to 18.
Right, which we're another
The
goal.
focus should be on truancy. If you keep them in school all the way through, they'll end up in post-secondary education.
So it's still, it is one of the our pillars that we have not even addressed people of color, the exception of what we're doing now with the internship
I
program.
don't care if we keep it.
But
I just think.
And again, respect to absenteeism, right? What do we do about absenteeism?
Well, that's a goal, that's a goal that goes back to the family environment.
Right,
stability,
and
et
that's
cetera.
exactly, that goes back to the.
But that, you put the truancy rates in there, but then you have objectives, or you have programs that are, or whatever, strategies on how to reduce it. That's how to go back to the family environment. I think we have to address that piece of it. You have to have a measure, because we've got to deal with that, okay, from third grade to 18, that's a big gap. And that's a gap where either they go this way or they go that way. And we want them to go this way. And so let's do something, let's put a goal in there to get some movement in that direction versus that direction. That's my thing. And I don't know if truancy is the right one, but there's got to be a measure that shows that we're being successful in keeping kids in a growth, productive, constructive environment. And I think truancy might be the best goal.
It's great, this age that is
Third grade to
10 to 15, because really, this needs to be changed. But this says, I think this right here on goal number 3, it says ages 18 to 24. I think it needs to start at 16. Because that is one of the,
Yeah, that's not big, but these are from like post-secondary training education.
but that can do in school. Because they have programs, the CNA program, they have.
Yeah, but that's not post.
Yeah,
But yeah, I hear what you're saying, yeah.
There you go. So that's my only thing with that, but it needs to be something from 10, 15, 10 to really 18 till they graduate, and whatever.
Yeah, based on this is.
I see that.
Right, like, you know, there needs to be some way. to-
Reduce truancy rates, and that's the easiest measure.
Yeah, but I guess my thing is like, how does truancy help mental health?
But what I'm saying, truancy, I'm just telling you what they can measure. Measuring truancy, is if you reduce truancy rates, something's got to change. You got to create a more stable and supportive environment. Oh, you got to have more engaged students. They can feel like going to school creates better value to the students. You got to do something. I'm just giving you a measure that tells you that you're making a difference. You're getting better or worse. I don't know what that measure is.
Right?
I think.
But what's a better measure? Or if it's 10 to 18, I'm just telling you.
These kids go to school, they're selling drugs, they're all kinds of stuff. They go to school to sell, go to the.
Well, we started school.
Right, but they're not being interject for a second.
So at the top of the
Yeah, I'm
page,
okay, just find a better measure.
just to calibrate, at the top of the page on this, you
Because
can,
we'll always fail.
it says, support
at least-
school-age
I
children
mean,
and
yes,
youth.
but I mean, let's go with, who has a solution?
Hey, girl, I'm okay, I just think we need a
I do,
measure
I got a
of
solution.
10 to 18. I'm just saying we need a
Listen,
measure.
this is what I'm just gonna tell y'all. Okay, there needs to be a program that is a curriculum, it is implemented in the school. It teaches these parents, it does kids, there is a.
Family resource. Thanks.
Right, but there is a way to do it. And to get them engaged, it's like, but there has to be for this age range. You
Your
don't
whole,
think, you don't think people go engage? Let me-
You realize the challenge that we have in Title I school, working class people do not have time to cut the school, taught how to get dinner.
No. I'm not saying being taught to be a parent. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the kids, right? There are no other options from them to get out of this generational. They need to know that there is a way to get out of it. They need to have the resources to be able to do it.
Okay, here, We need to have a measurable goal that shows that we're impacting. I'm just saying we need to have a measurable goal that shows you're impacting the behavior of kids between 10 and 18. I don't know what that measure is,
Okay,
but it's gotta be something that's
so
measurable.
if you look at the intent of youth success. Support school age children and youth in achieving academic success. Okay, that's the Title I, reading level. So that's academic success, building resilience. I'm not quite.
And
sure.
how are we doing that? Let him finish reading.
And preparing for meaningful post-secondary and workforce pathways. This captures literacy, mental health, engagement, which I see as family engagement. I'm not quite sure what that general engagement captures, and workforce without fragment.
So it's the measure.
And right, and so then they say, well, then, what we're saying is we only have two goals to capture that intent. One of which is, the rating level and 18 to.
And we have,
Yeah, and
and there needs to be.
it is the whole
I don't
thing.
think
That's what I'm saying. I
anybody, I
don't
don't
have-
think anybody at the table disagree that something needs to be goal related to attendance.
Yeah, that's all I'm
There needs
saying.
to be a goal
Yeah.
and it needs to be mental health related.
Well, and there's
Okay.
nothing.
Pause there for
fundamental
just one
health is-
second, but not just
Hold
gonna
on,
check
Becky,
agreement.
Becky, let me interject. Because in the strategic goal ad hoc committee, one of the goals that we offered was increase the percentage of Leon County youth, middle and high school, demonstrating strong protective factors and positive mental health by 10% by 2030, while also reducing non-fatal self-harm behaviors and teen suicide rate.
Well, how do you measure, other than the suicide rate, how do you measure the first?
The measurement indicators are protective factors and resiliency. It's a, what do you call it, survey, the annual rate of emergency department visits for self-harm, ages 12 to 17, and the 5-year rolling average suicide rate among youth ages 13 to 19.
It's a really small number here. I mean, it's, when you get really small numbers, 1 or 2.
Well, all
It's
I'm
really
saying
great.
is we offered that
And
and
it was, but.
And now I get what you're trying to do.
Well, but
Any
they-
expertise in mental health.
No, I know what you're trying to do, but.
Yeah, they were.
Fine, by the way, there's 6 of 10 right here, so if we accept it, we can.
Yeah, I'm okay.
just offered
I'm just
it.
saying suicide, but like suicide, that number is so small. You might have, and I always see this in healthcare, we see the really small disease factors. One hit this one for you way off,
Okay. But
1
one,
or 2.
I'm just offering that it could be tweaked, but we did have a goal.
Yeah. I just want, I think there just needs to be something that we can measure.
Agreed.
You remember why?
I think truancy out there is just a measure. It does act.
It's the
So, okay, let me just pause for 1 second. We are in agreement that there needs to be a measure that affects ages 10 to 18, yes?
Yep.
Okay, the question now is, what should that measure be? Sika just threw out one that the committee looked at. I'm gonna hear Daryl, and then I'm gonna hear Brent in that order, because we're gonna try to land this plane. And then Austin, thank you.
So
Go ahead.
one of the things that Vanderlyn said was about the kids at school, how you maintain their interest, right? One of our problems that we realize is accurate is that intelligence manifests different. The kid who doesn't come to school is no longer interested in that traditional curriculum, right? And so one of the things that we could do is start with career navigators as early as middle school potentially.
I feel it's better.
For those kids who, if the kid who likes to tinker, but who still, we had shop. We had hope, we had all these other, and so if we were to facilitate those pathways through the investment of career navigators, potentially, where kids will have opportunity to be engaged through certificate programs as early as middle school that stimulate different options of instruction. I think that's one of the ways you respond to attendance, because here now they see where the classroom now provides greater interest. I'm done with history. I don't want to conjugate the verb to be anymore, but if I'm allowed to work in AI.
But we're not lively to 50-year-olds.
Right, and so here now, we don't wait until they get to become a junior, talk about dual enrollment or certificate programs, we start earlier on, but we then creep them, we stimulate a pathway for them to dual enroll at Lyman because we've already started certificate program as early as middle school.
And you should be looking at these kids' strengths and going, hey, if I know I'm good at this and I'm not good at reading, but I'm really good at hands-on stuff, why are we not facilitating that?
But we can't give money to the school, but what we can do is petition the partners
Yeah.
in our community, right? Like working with cooperation with the chambers and career
Why'd you
source.
get live development to fit?
Got it.
Hold on one
Sorry.
second.
I want to make sure we hear from Brent.
Okay, I'm gonna say he's not a school. board. No, but I'm just
He's
kidding.
throwing out, so we're all in agreement, 10 to 18, there's a suggestion maybe to have it be something around career navigation.
Certificate program for everyone to maintain it, program, and how we utilize the community to make that happen because we can't get money.
Brent,
I would just say, stepping back and say, strategic planning process, it's not a one and done. We're all acknowledging in violent agreement from 10 to 18, we need additional goals. It may be one more than one, but I don't think we're gonna solve it here because we haven't engaged any of the subject matter experts around it to help influence it.
I agree with you.
And that I think help this process forward. We need to feel comfortable that we could vote the goals as amended that we've got and put as an action item that we acknowledge that this additional goal has to be put in under use
I
success.
second that.
Because I think with this group, we are going to, with the best intentions, we're gonna drive this one all day long and not know that we're in the place that's supportable.
Thank you. Let me just say, when the strategic planning committee looked at goal number 3 as it is, the way to influence that is to influence the exact ages that you all are talking about. And so the objectives underneath it would be geared toward the age group you're talking about, so that when they get to 18, we're talking about a 5-year span. So if we invest now, by the time they get to 18, we're measuring that, and we should see, so the ad hoc committee was trying to be forward thinking. And so to look at 18 to 24, which is what we can measure. We don't have any measurements for 10 to 17. We don't have any naturally sourced measurements. The tactics and objectives underneath address that age group to get to 18. So I just wanted to throw that out there, because I think what may be happening is we see 18 to 24 and think that the tactics underneath are hitting that age group. It's not. It's hitting the younger age group so that when they get there in 5 years, we see an increase from the baseline. So I'll say that, and then I'm gonna be quiet.
so that's okay, so all these things on page 6 essentially are XYZ, so that 18 to 24-year-olds are employed.
Right.
So it's restating what.
It's everything,
Working with people younger than that.
Kara Jones just said. It's doing that kind of stuff to impact those 10 and make school more appealing and all of the things. And so I think what it does is it helps reduce truancy. There was a long conversation in the ad hoc committee about absenteeism and truancy, and the Superintendent Hannah had a lot of trepidation about how you measure that. What I will say is there are 6 CSCs that are involved in this study on what is the best way to address absenteeism, and Michelle Watson, of course, who was just here, is heading that up. So I would be reticent to try to add anything on absenteeism and truancy until we can agree on what actually works. What we know is that career exploration, continued investment in WOW, our summer youth internship program, that stuff does affect whether kids are going to school. So I just wanted to throw that out there because these, didn't have to be.
So it sounded like, thank you for that. It sounded like Brent's suggestion that these 2 are fine. And that there may be something that you bring to the council that says, we're gonna approve these as they're written. If you ever make wordsmithing on it, with a note that to evaluate at some point in time, the addition of another goal.
No,
You're good?
no. I'm just like Commissioner Cummings on this. No. How can we say youth success with, okay, literacy, got it. Mental health, engagement, and workforce. We have workforce, we have literacy. There's nothing of mental health in here.
That is true.
There's no, take that out, that's it. Right.
So, okay,
Well, the intent.
Yeah, the intent, right.
but if that's your
Yeah,
intent,
I see.
there is no goal.
That is.
There's nothing.
There's nothing, but that's the
There,
intent, so.
and what Steve is saying is there was one that addressed mental health and they
We
took
took
it
it
out.
out.
So I think we do need to find a way, because the intent is right, and we do spend money on mental health programs. So it is very much like, the commissioner's point about homelessness. Sticking it in, and I don't know what the,
So
you know,
you're
what the
suggesting,
actual,
you're suggesting adding a goal specific
Yes.
to mental health.
that's separate from the other two. Much like we did.
I just didn't want to hold hostage.
I'm good with that.
100%.
I'm okay with that.
You take a step, right?
I'm good with that.
Yes.
The other thing is, while she's taking a stab at writing, I would encourage all of you, and this is not a political ad, but Congressman Dobbins has as one of his pillars of his education policy, exactly what we're talking about, is a navigator that is assigned to each kid. I believe it starts either at 10 or 12.
That's a perfect age.
It's an unbelievable program.
Perfect
I
age.
think that's going,
I mean, if you.
yeah, still running for
Yeah,
governor.
if you
Oh,
started, if people think you started in the 10th grade or just too
I
young.
mean, and it was the coolest, whoever wins governor, I hope accepts, it, because it's a really neat program. I was reading this going,
Yeah.
somebody's doing something.
All right, I'm gonna do something while Austin is working on maybe drafting a goal.
You got 6 minutes. Pull us together.
So Austin's gonna work on that for a second. I'm gonna actually jump ahead on the agenda. Because I think that we're kind of coming home on this, once we figure that out. One of the questions that was suggested to me to include in the agenda, and I think that there'll be violent agreement on this as well, is a question about having an annual strategic retreat. And a discussion about doing that where you are not having, you're able to have these kind of conversations, not under the council rules. So is everybody good with that?
Oh, absolutely.
Sure.
Did you need to get like an idea of timing? I think you were talking about maybe January or something.
So I had a preliminary conversation with Chair Jones that February might be a good time for us to do that annual retreat and for strategic planning and otherwise. Reason being, the school board has theirs in January. The county commission has theirs in January. And so that allows us to have whatever came out of those two to see if it influences anything that you all decide. We also don't have council meeting. So that's why that was my suggestion.
I would say just on summer, that's all. So,
We got another.
other than that.
Go ahead, Daryl.
I think something else that comes out of that, even if this happens for you all, out of that conversation also comes, fiscal priorities. That some of this, what we talk about is unfunded mandates, but some of this is, so that we also, as a part of that discussion, capture that which will then inform our conversation later in the process when it comes to talking about what the budget looks like. Our priorities. It's kind of, part of the context of our conversation.
I'll volunteer just to let you know. So, if we're gonna do this in January, February, March, we're putting down this, slot show grades. So.
Let me tell you something, and Mark Grace is great. I look here, I voted his piece because he had grip at every.
That's not me, no, mine doesn't be that.
Yes, and he never.
No, mine don't be privileged, I'm not gonna. No, it'll be, I'll go back and get up.
Our new team member said with shrimp, Councilmember O'Brien.
So you just flag me when you're ready, Austin. So the only other thing that was on the agenda, and I think we fast forwarded through that, was to do any action and follow-up that needed to happen, but the fact they're capturing the changes and adjustments. So, maybe you share with the group what you're gonna do between now and the meeting, so that everybody knows what happens between now and the next council meeting.
Yes, so what we will do is take everything out of this workshop. We are going to make the adjustments to the strategic goal document. And we're gonna try to get that out as soon as possible. It is gonna be really important for all council members to look through it and submit any comments to us ahead of time, so that when we get to council meeting on June 18th, hopefully we'll accept the goal statement, because that is our blueprint to move. Yeah.
Don't bet on it.
So sometimes when you see one thing, something pops in your head later, and that's fine. Just try and let, Sika know before the meeting that, hey, this might be adjusted slightly. Wordsmithing is always gonna happen, but the honor and the intent of what's there is still there. Fine.
And
All of a sudden, y'all got 6 sentences through.
well, and
Well,
if
right.
I may, what I'm also wondering, and you all can give me direction, is we always try to provide information. Sometimes I wonder if we provide too much, and it causes the brain to literally keep going round and round.
You're doing fine.
Awesome, okay. I wanna make sure we're not overloading.
Okay,
I have really, Austin's ready for.
so I'm not, this is, I don't, I seem like I have it, but I have to externally process it, so we want to increase the mental health. I put awareness, but this is not what I want is to be able to have programs that are going to help these students develop like resiliency and conflict resolution, just being aware of like communication and building healthy relationships, like that's the part of the mental health.
So that's the how.
That, yeah, and like
So what's
how.
the- What you measure.
Yeah,
to know
one
that
of
it's
the things, like, that's life, right, being uncomfortable, because a lot of these kids, they get in there and go, oh, I'm anxious, and I can't do it, and they're like, no, you gotta do more things, but I don't know how to put that into,
something that's. not-
because I have all of the how,
Right, I hear you.
Sika, what was the,
I was just gonna ask.
the item that was brought before the committee again?
How we
Increase the
funded that entity that was in there working with teachers on.
Resiliency, the
Yeah.
resiliency.
That's for the little ones, though, wasn't it, the
Well,
hot
What's the
chocolate?
one you read that?
Yeah,
that made like a.
But you know, that's,
increase the percentage increase the percentage of Leon County youth, middle and high school, demonstrating strong protective factors and positive mental health by 10% by 2030. There was a whole self-harm piece, but we'll take the self-harm
Yeah, take
piece
that
out.
yeah.
so then it's just a matter of funding of the entity, at least you. it's
Yeah,
much
I
easier.
understand,
Of this goal, and then what we would do is,
Because then we can have programs that.
so here are the
implement
here are the objectives that we had underneath. Strengthen resilience supports in our after-school programs for grades 4 through 8. Expand early identification and navigation supports, that could be through family resource centers, OST programs. Yeah, and so those were our two.
And there may be more, but getting that.
And there
goal-
could be more, but that's just.
Getting that goal on there sets the course.
Yeah.
Maybe more.
Yeah,
I think
I
that's
like
the
that.
goal, and
So how about we add that goal back
I
in?
will approve it.
I'm a full
That
yes.
goal is that. And it's definitely hitting these middle school and high school, definitely middle school, but.
And what we will do
Yeah.
is, instead of just relying on what we've always done for resiliency, we would look at creating a procurement for programs that specifically address this in a way like we do our whole procurement process.
Yeah.
So we're getting to what you're seeing in your practice and how we get with that.
Yeah.
And force them to collaborate with others.
And a lot of it too is you can be, there are. We can get with, the school district and they have a whole bunch of health section, like, have all these reports.
Yeah.
And they
we
can
get
get,
the
and how many
information.
schools are we writing, okay, this person, we did a referral for counseling, like what? There's a way to get this stuff, but there's a way, so, and that can. There just needs to be goals. So thanks,
You're facing advantage, right?
Right.
Say again.
I am gonna congratulate you all. You just landed the plane on the goals. It's 2 minutes after 1. Thank you all.
Thank you.
It's always interesting, coming into a group of people that I don't really know and don't know how the history of the interactions and all that stuff. So I hope you were patient with me trying to push you forward, but the goal, behind the scenes goal for today, regardless of what you heard, was to get this ready for the vote at the next council meeting. And so it feels like you're there. So, Holly was taking notes about everything and they're gonna send all that out. And thank you all very much for participating and for hanging in there. And I'm gonna turn it over to.
Let's give Becky a round of applause.
I have one thought, I just want to make sure that the recommendations of what to remove. We got the goals, but all of that behind it is going to be included in the final draft this time.
So look, we captured it on the wall. The
Yeah.
comments that were made.
There's a lot of stuff.
And she has it on your.
A lot of stuff up there on the wall.
Becky told me, everybody. Becky told me, thank you for coming with us. This was a fabulous fish. I don't know about y'all, but this was a bad 9-1 o'clock. I think I made it. I mean, it was, and council members, I don't know about you, but I just got a brand new, it's almost like I wished to reset on my service. I know we went kind of, but, okay, but, yes, ma'am, but what happened here was our passion is evident, our expertise is evident, and our communities will be better for our conversation here. I hope the staff feels thoroughly informed by much of what we have talked about here. And I mean, and Austin, we're happy to have you to join us. And everybody, but everybody's input collectively is just really, really stimulating. I know we didn't record it visually, but maybe that was good because I mean, we were really going at it, right? I mean, it wasn't it great? So thank you all for coming to spend your Saturday today. Our friends, we will bring that equal passion when we come back together to talk about what we choose to give. But again, thank you, everybody. Let's bring the screen to the entire team, to our newest member of the team, to all of you. Thank you. And Paul, thank you for the groceries. And for the food services company, I do that now, and I am sure that's the best. Thank you. Thank you.
Real quick, before we let you guys go, I have not formally talked with the council. I've talked a little bit with Councilmember Mitchell, but I haven't talked formally about this idea of a conception to career continuum for Leon County. While we would not be expected to fund it, I do believe that when I think about all these goal statements and all of the work that we're doing in the community, that is what our community needs. We need a conception to career and college continuum that takes into consideration everything that everybody does. Brent had talked about, Councilmember Johnson had talked about this. And we are working on a bit of not a white paper, but a concept paper, because I would like, and I believe it is our place to be the convener. And really bringing our entities, our stakeholders together to define that continuum from the time a child is conceived until they are ready to go to college career, see where they fit in that continuum, see where the gaps are, and then come together to figure out how we fill those gaps, whether it's bringing a program and looking at how we grade and blend funding resources, because we can't fund everything, or bringing the smart people together to develop the program and figure out how we grade and blend. I think it is going to be incredibly important as we look at a possible change in our funding. And so I have been out floating the concept in different circles, and there seems to be a lot of support behind that. But I would not make a real move to get into that convening without the blessing of the council. And so I just want to present it as
as this overarching concept, and just know that probably July or September, I would like to bring kind of a little, and it's not a proposal, it's just an outline of how this would look.
And so it, which we have talked briefly about, here's my only thought on all of what the council will need to do. Two things that happen in November. One, this property tax issue, whether it passes or fails, whatever. The second thing is, we are going to have a new administration with a new focus on much of what you're talking about. I shared with three of the other members of the council. I'm happy to share with everyone that what I talked about with Congressman Donald's plan on education. This continuum is core to his running. I would not want to get ahead of him, not because I care who my governor is, but because I think we need to find out what he's going to be doing so that we're walking in step with it. So I love the idea of a continuum, but when a guy who's got, the power of the purse is ahead of us, and we know that he'll be funding some of this, so we don't have to, but we can again be the catalyst of Leon County. Oh, I mean, it's everybody.
This is 100% in line with where we should.
Yes. Yeah.
How do we allow kids to be the most successful learners?
Right. One of the things too, that Mark will recall when he was chair of United Way Board, the Florida Chamber of Commerce started us on this conversation that workforce preparation started at the kindergarten level.
Yeah.
And subsequently, that initial conversation and after you very key, and others who talk about I cannot see what I've seen, cannot learn what I've learned, and the district subsequently has responded by being intentional about intervention. So again, this goes back to what I said about the pivotal role that you play as one of the principal stakeholders and voices and faces associated with children's children well-being. And that's an important part of it. I even said the same about how we address absenteeism through that same methodology. So I'm excited to see what you'll present. Again, I can also tell you that I'm a member of the Town Development Council. SECA will be invited to join us there. So you are the right things in that space. I look forward to seeing what will come of that.
Thank you all so much, and want to benedict this all out?
Oh, look here. Thank you all, everybody.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, next time you're saying, I'll read that.
Benedicted? Yeah.
Those are not.
Oh, there's no way when I saw it.
Oh, no.